The metal tray slammed down on the table, and Victoria Palmer's voice cut through the cafeteria like a blade. "Eat it, every last bite. Or do you want me to tell your father how ungrateful you are?" 8-year-old Jasmine Washington stared at the cold, day-old slop in front of her, her small hands trembling. She didn't see her father standing at the cafeteria door, but Marcus Washington saw everything, and what he witnessed in the next 30 seconds would haunt him for the rest of his life. Before we begin this incredible story, I want to invite you to subscribe to our channel and follow Jasmine's journey to the very end. Please comment below with the city you're watching from so I can see just how far this story travels. Now, let us begin. The phone call came at 9:47 in the morning. Marcus Washington was in the middle of reviewing a $50 million acquisition deal when his personal cell phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen. Dorothy Jenkins, his housekeeper. He almost ignored it. Dorothy never called during business hours unless it was an emergency, but lately her definition of emergency had been Jasmine refusing to eat breakfast or crying before school. Things Victoria assured him were normal for a child adjusting to change. He let it ring. It rang again, and again. On the fourth call, something in his gut twisted. He excused himself from the conference room and answered. "Dorothy, I'm in a meeting. What is it?" Her voice was shaking. "Mr. Washington, you need to go to the school." "What? Why is Jasmine hurt?" "I can't explain on the phone, sir. Please, just go to the school. Go to the cafeteria during lunch. Don't tell anyone you're coming. Just go." "Dorothy, you're not making sense. If something happened, tell me now." There was a long pause. Then in a whisper so low he almost didn't hear it. "If you don't go today, sir, you might lose her forever." The line went dead. Marcus stood frozen in the hallway, his heart pounding. Dorothy Jenkins had worked for his family for 12 years. She had never spoken to him like that. Never. He walked back into the conference room. 15 executives looked up expectantly. "Reschedule everything," he said. "I have to go." His CFO stood up. "Marcus, we're in the middle of the Henderson deal. We can't just... I said reschedule it." He was out the door before anyone could respond. The drive to Riverside Academy took 23 minutes. Marcus spent every second of it replaying Dorothy's words in his mind. Lose her forever. What did that mean? Was Jasmine sick? Had something happened at school? His phone buzzed with texts from his assistant, his CFO, his lawyer. He ignored them all. When he pulled into the school parking lot, his hands were trembling. He hadn't felt this kind of fear since the night Angela died. That same cold dread settling into his bones, telling him that something was very, very wrong. He walked through his front doors and forced a smile for the receptionist. "Mr. Washington, we weren't expecting you. Should I call Principal Mitchell?" "No need, Dorothy." He kept his voice casual. "I'm just here to surprise my daughter for lunch." "Oh, how sweet the cafeteria is down the hall, second left. Lunch period just started." He nodded and walked away, his heart hammering against his ribs. The corridor stretched endlessly before him. Children's artwork lined the walls. Bright colors. Happy faces. A paper sun with the words, "Riverside Academy, where every child shines." The irony would hit him later. He stopped outside the cafeteria doors. Through the small window he could see rows of tables filled with children eating, laughing, talking. Normal. Everything looked normal. Then he saw her. Jasmine sat alone at a corner table separated from everyone else by at least 10 feet of empty space. Her small frame looked impossibly tiny against the institutional furniture. Her head was bowed. Her shoulders were hunched. And standing over her was Victoria. Marcus's blood turned to ice. Victoria's back was to him, but he could see her hand gripping Jasmine's shoulder. Her posture was rigid, aggressive, nothing like the soft, gentle woman he thought he had married. He couldn't hear what she was saying through the glass, but he could see Jasmine shaking her head. He could see tears streaming down his daughter's face. He reached for the door handle, then he stopped. A young cafeteria worker approached Victoria with a container. She was young, maybe 25, with braids pulled back under a hairnet. Her name tag read Keisha. Victoria took the container and opened it. Even from the doorway, Marcus could see what was inside. Gray congealed rice, wilted vegetables floating in cloudy liquid, food that looked like it had been sitting out for hours, maybe days. Victoria scooped it onto Jasmine's tray. Marcus's stomach lurched. "Mrs. Palmer," Keisha said, her voice uncertain. "That's the leftover bin. It's supposed to go to compost." Victoria turned to her with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I know exactly what it is. Jasmine needs to learn not to waste food. This is a teaching moment." "But ma'am, that food isn't safe to..." "Are you questioning me?" Victoria's voice dropped to a whisper, but Marcus could read her lips through the glass. "I am a senior educator at this school. I am also the wife of Marcus Washington, who donated $2 million to this institution last year. Are you really going to tell me how to discipline my own stepdaughter?" Keisha's face crumpled. She stepped back. "No, ma'am. I'm sorry." "Good. Now go back to your station." The young woman retreated, but not before casting one last desperate look at Jasmine, a look that said, "I'm sorry. I can't help you." Marcus felt rage building in his chest. Pure white-hot rage unlike anything he had ever experienced. Victoria turned back to Jasmine and picked up a spoon. She scooped some of the gray slop and held it toward the child's mouth. "Open?" Jasmine shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "Please, I don't want to. It smells bad." "I don't care what you want. Your father isn't here to protect you. He's never here. So you'll do what I say, or I'll make sure you regret it tonight." Tonight. The word echoed in Marcus's mind. What happened tonight what had been happening in his own home while he buried himself in spreadsheets and conference calls? He threw open the cafeteria doors. The sound was like a gunshot in the crowded room. Every head turned. Every conversation stopped. The only sound was the clatter of a dropped fork somewhere in the back. Victoria spun around, and Marcus saw it happen in real time. The flash of terror in her eyes. The way her face cycled through surprise panic calculation and finally settled into a mask of pleasant confusion. "Marcus, sweetheart, what are you doing here?" He didn't answer. He walked past her without a word, his eyes locked on his daughter. Jasmine looked up at him. Her face was streaked with tears. Her lower lip was trembling, and in her eyes he saw something that shattered his heart into a million pieces. Hope, mixed with disbelief, like she couldn't quite accept that he was really there. "Daddy." He knelt beside her and looked at the tray. The smell hit him immediately. Sour, rancid. The rice was gray and clumped together. The vegetables were brown, floating in liquid that looked like dirty dishwater. "What is this?" Victoria stepped forward, her heels clicking on the floor. "It's nothing, honey. Jasmine has been having some issues with food waste. I'm just teaching her to appreciate what she has. It's a pedagogical technique." Marcus stood slowly. He picked up the tray. He turned to face his wife. "Then you eat it." The mask slipped. "Just for a second. Excuse me." "You heard me. If this food is good enough for my daughter, it should be good enough for you." He thrust the tray toward her. "Go ahead. Take a bite." Victoria's jaw tightened. "Marcus, you're embarrassing me in front of the entire school. Can we please discuss this at home like adults?" "No." He set the tray down and scooped Jasmine into his arms. She weighed almost nothing. When had she gotten so light, her ribs pressed against his forearm through her uniform shirt? "We're leaving." "You're overreacting." Victoria's voice rose, her composure cracking. "I was helping her. Someone has to discipline that child since you're never around to do it yourself." Marcus stopped. He turned to face her one final time. The cafeteria was silent. 300 children watched with wide eyes. Teachers stood frozen by the walls. Cafeteria workers clutched their serving spoons like weapons. "If you ever," Marcus said, his voice low and deadly calm, "come near my daughter again, I will destroy you." He walked out. Behind him, he heard Victoria call his name. Once, twice. Her voice grew shriller each time, the pleasant mask completely gone now. He didn't look back. In the far corner of the cafeteria, Keisha pulled out her phone. Her hands were shaking, but her jaw was set with determination. She pressed record. Marcus didn't stop walking until he reached his car. He opened the back door and set Jasmine inside, buckling her seatbelt with hands that wouldn't stop trembling. "Daddy, am I in trouble?" The question broke something inside him. "No, baby, you're not in trouble." "Then why are you crying?" He hadn't realized he was. He wiped his face with the back of his hand. I'm so sorry, Jasmine. I'm so sorry." For what? For everything he thought. For not being there. For not seeing. For choosing work over you every single day for 3 years. "Just get in the car, baby. We're going to see a doctor." "But I'm not sick." He looked at her. Really looked at her for the first time in months. The dark circles under her eyes. The way her collarbone jutted out beneath her shirt. The hollowness in her cheeks where there used to be baby fat. "Yes, you are," he said softly, "and I didn't see it. But I see it now." He climbed into the driver's seat and started the engine. His phone was buzzing non-stop. Victoria, his assistant. Victoria again, the school's main office. He turned the phone off. "Jasmine, I need you to answer something for me, and I need you to tell the truth even if it's scary." She nodded slowly, her eyes wide. Has Victoria done this before? Made you eat food like that? Silence. Baby, please. She said I wasn't allowed to tell. The words came out in a whisper. She said you'd be mad at me. She said you'd send me away to boarding school if I made trouble. That's not true. I would never send you away. Never. She said you don't love me anymore. She said you only married her because you wanted to forget about me and Mommy. Marcus had to pull the car over. He couldn't see the road through his tears. That's a lie, he said, his voice cracking. That is a horrible, evil lie. I love you more than anything in this world. More than my company, more than my money, more than my own life. Then why are you never home? The question hung in the air like a knife. Because I was scared, he admitted. When your mother died, I didn't know how to be a father without her. She was the one who knew how to talk to you, how to make you laugh, how to make everything okay. Without her, I felt lost, so I hid in my work. I told myself I was providing for you. But really, I was just running away. Jasmine was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Mommy used to say that running away never fixes anything. It just makes the thing you're running from catch up to you faster. Marcus let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. Your mother was a very smart woman. I know, I miss her. I miss her too, baby, every single day. He pulled back onto the road and drove toward Emory University Hospital. The silence in the car was heavy, but not uncomfortable. For the first time in months, maybe years, he felt like he and his daughter were actually in the same space. Not just physically, but emotionally. Daddy. Yes. Victoria does other things too. His grip tightened on the steering wheel. What kind of things? She makes me write notes every night, lists of everything I did wrong that day. If the list isn't long enough, she says I'm lying and makes me start over. What else? If I don't finish my dinner, she locks me in my room. She says I'm too fat anyway and don't need to eat. Too fat, his daughter who was skin and bones. What else, Jasmine? I need to know everything. She hurts me sometimes. The car swerved slightly. Marcus corrected it with shaking hands. How does she hurt you? Jasmine slowly rolled up the sleeve of her uniform. On her upper arm, just above the elbow, were 4 distinct bruises, purple and yellow against her brown skin, finger-shaped. She grabs me when she's mad, and sometimes she pinches me where the clothes cover it so you can't see. She says if I ever tell anyone, she'll make sure something bad happens to Mrs. Jenkins. Mrs. Jenkins. Victoria says Mrs. Jenkins is old and useless and she's going to fire her. She says if I tell anyone what happens, she'll blame it all on Mrs. Jenkins and get her sent to jail. Marcus felt his vision going red at the edges. That woman is a monster. She wasn't always like this. Jasmine's voice was small. When you were around, she was nice. She only got mean when you left. The words hit him like a physical blow. When you left, when you were around, everything Victoria had done, she had done because he wasn't there to see it. Because he had given her unsupervised access to his child. Because he had chosen to believe her lies over his own daughter's silence. I'm so sorry, he said again. The words felt pathetically inadequate. I'm so sorry. It's okay, Daddy. No, it's not okay. None of this is okay. He looked at her in the rearview mirror. But I'm going to fix it. I promise you. I'm going to fix everything. They arrived at the hospital 20 minutes later. Marcus carried Jasmine inside and demanded to see Dr. Patricia Coleman, the best pediatrician in Atlanta. The receptionist took one look at Jasmine and picked up the phone immediately. They were seen within 10 minutes. Dr. Coleman was a woman in her 60s with gray-streaked hair and kind eyes that turned hard the moment she saw Jasmine's condition. She conducted a thorough examination while Marcus sat in the waiting room, his head in his hands. When she finally emerged, her expression was grim. Mr. Washington, we need to talk. She led him to a private office and closed the door. Your daughter is severely malnourished. Her BMI is dangerously low for her age. She has stomach ulcers likely from prolonged stress and irregular eating. She's showing signs of anxiety disorder and possible PTSD. Each word was a hammer blow to his chest. I also found multiple bruises on her arms and torso. Some are fresh, others are in various stages of healing, which suggests this has been going on for some time. Dr. Coleman leaned forward. Mr. Washington, I have to ask you directly. Who has had unsupervised access to your daughter? My wife. The words tasted like poison. Her stepmother. I see. The doctor's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. I'm required by law to report this to Child Protective Services. The police will also need to be involved. I understand. There's something else. Dr. Coleman hesitated. While I was examining Jasmine, she said something that concerned me. She said, and I quote, "Please don't tell Daddy about the closet. Victoria said I'd get in trouble." Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. The closet. I didn't press her for details. That's for the child psychologist to handle. But Mr. Washington, whatever has been happening to your daughter, I don't think we've uncovered the full extent of it yet. Marcus stood up so abruptly that his chair fell backward. I need to make some calls. He stepped into the hallway and dialed his lawyer first. Robert Chen answered on the second ring. Marcus, I heard you walked out of the Henderson meeting. What's going on? I need you to file for divorce tonight, and I need an emergency restraining order against my wife. She's been abusing my daughter. Silence on the other end. Then, are you sure about this, Marcus? Victoria? She seemed so... I don't care what she seemed like. I saw it with my own eyes. My daughter is in the hospital right now. She's malnourished. She has bruises all over her body. She's terrified. Jesus, Robert's voice shifted into professional mode. Okay, I'll have the papers ready in 2 hours. You'll need to come sign them, and we'll need Jasmine's medical records as evidence. Are you filing a police report? Yes? Good. Document everything. Save every text, every email, every voicemail from Victoria. If there are witnesses, get their names and contact information. The school cafeteria worker saw what happened today. Her name is Keisha. I'll send an investigator to get her statement. Marcus, this is going to get ugly. Victoria won't go quietly. I don't care. I want her out of my house, out of my life, and behind bars. Understood. I'll meet you at your house tonight with the papers. Marcus hung up and made his second call. Atlanta Police Department. I need to report a case of child abuse. He gave his statement to a detective named Williams, who asked careful, methodical questions. Had he witnessed the abuse directly? Yes. Were there other witnesses? Yes. Was the child currently safe? Yes, she was at the hospital. Did the accused have access to any weapons? He didn't know. Would the child be able to give a statement? She would need time and support, but yes. We'll send officers to take photographs of the injuries and interview your daughter tomorrow, Detective Williams said. In the meantime, do not allow the accused to have any contact with the child. She won't get within 100 feet of my daughter. I'll make sure of it. He hung up and walked back to Jasmine's room. She was hooked up to an IV now, her small arm looking painfully fragile against the white hospital sheets. Daddy. I'm here, baby. What's going to happen to Victoria? She's going to go away, forever. Will she go to jail? I'm going to do everything I can to make sure she does. Jasmine was quiet for a moment. Then, she told me you would never believe me. She said grown-ups always believe other grown-ups over kids. She was wrong about that. She was wrong about everything. His phone buzzed. A text from Dorothy Jenkins. Mr. Washington, Victoria just came home. She's furious. She's tearing through the house looking for something. I've locked myself in my room. What should I do? He typed back. Stay in your room. Don't engage with her. Help is on the way. He made another call this time to a private security company he had used for corporate events. I need 2 guards at my home address immediately. There's a woman there who needs to be removed from the property. She may become violent. Understood, Mr. Washington. We can have someone there in 15 minutes. Make it 10. He turned back to Jasmine. She was watching him with those big brown eyes, and he saw something in them that he hadn't seen in months. Trust. Daddy, can you stay with me tonight? I'm not going anywhere, baby. I promise. His phone buzzed again. This time, it was a number he didn't recognize. He almost ignored it, but something made him answer. Mr. Washington, my name is Sandra Mitchell. I'm calling from Birmingham. I saw the news about what happened at your daughter's school. The news? Marcus felt his stomach drop. What news? It's all over social media. Someone recorded what happened in the cafeteria. It's been shared thousands of times already. That's how I found your number. Who are you? Who are you? Victoria Palmer was my daughter's teacher 3 years ago at Jefferson Elementary in Birmingham. Marcus's hand tightened on the phone. What happened? The same thing that's happening to your daughter. Victoria targeted my Maya, made her eat spoiled food, isolated her from other kids, punished her for things that weren't her fault. By the time we figured out what was going on, Maya had lost 15 pounds and was having nightmares every night. Did you report it? Sandra laughed bitterly. Of course we did. The school buried it. Victoria had connections. She was dating some administrator, and suddenly all the evidence disappeared. She resigned quietly and moved to Atlanta. We never got justice. Marcus felt rage building in his chest again. How do I reach you? I need you to talk to my lawyer. I'll talk to anyone who will listen. That woman destroyed my daughter. It took Maya 2 years of therapy before she could even walk into a school building again. Sandra's voice cracked. When I saw that video today, it all came back. I couldn't let her get away with it again. She won't, I promise you that. He took down Sandra's information and hung up. His mind was racing. Victoria had done this before. She had a pattern. She had gotten away with it once, and she had thought she could get away with it again. She was wrong. He texted Robert New Development. Found a previous victim. Will explain when you arrive. Robert's response was immediate. This changes everything. We can establish a pattern of behavior. She's done. Marcus sat down beside Jasmine's bed and took her hand. She was falling asleep now. The exhaustion finally catching up to her. Rest, baby, he whispered. You're safe now. I've got you. Her eyes fluttered closed, but she didn't let go of his hand. His phone buzzed one more time. A text from Victoria. You're making the biggest mistake of your life, Marcus. I made you look good. I fixed your broken little family. And this is how you repay me, by humiliating me in front of the entire school. He screenshot the message and forwarded it to Robert. Then another text came through. That brat has been lying to you since the day I moved in. She's jealous. She wants me gone so she can have you all to herself. You're going to realize I was the best thing that ever happened to you, and by then it will be too late. He screenshot that one too. Then another. I gave up everything for you. My career, my independence, my friends. And you're throwing me away because of some spoiled child's tantrum. You're pathetic, Marcus. You always were. And another. You think you can just discard me? I'll take half of everything you own. I'll destroy your reputation. Everyone will know what kind of father abandons his wife over lies. He stopped reading. He turned off his phone and looked at his daughter sleeping peacefully for what was probably the first time in months. The storm was just beginning. He knew that. Victoria would fight. She would lie. She would manipulate everyone she could. But she had already lost. Because Marcus Washington was finally awake. And he would burn down everything he had built before he let anyone hurt his daughter again. Dorothy Jenkins sat in her locked bedroom listening to Victoria tear through the house. She could hear cabinets slamming, drawers being yanked open, papers being thrown. Where is it? Victoria's voice was shrill. Nothing like the pleasant tone she used around Marcus. Where did that old hag put it? Dorothy knew what she was looking for. The journal. The one Dorothy had been keeping for the past 6 months, documenting everything she had witnessed. Every time Jasmine came home crying. Every meal she had refused to eat. Every bruise Dorothy had noticed when helping the girl bathe. She had hidden it well. Behind a loose panel in the back of her closet inside a plastic bag to protect it from dust. Victoria would never find it. A knock at her bedroom door made Dorothy jump. Dorothy? Victoria's voice was sickeningly sweet. Open the door, please. I just want to talk. I'd rather not, Mrs. Palmer. It's Mrs. Washington, and I wasn't asking. Dorothy said nothing. A long pause. Then Victoria's voice changed. Dropping the pretense entirely. You think you've won something here, don't you, you and that ungrateful brat? You've been plotting against me since day one. But let me tell you something, Dorothy. I always win. Always. Marcus is confused right now, but he'll come around. Men like him always do. They need someone to take care of them. And when he realizes what a mistake he's made, you'll be the first one I get rid of. Dorothy still said nothing. Fine. Stay in there like a coward. It doesn't matter. None of this matters. In a week, Marcus will be begging me to come back. Footsteps retreated down the hallway. Dorothy let out the breath she had been holding. 15 minutes later, she heard new voices downstairs. Male voices, authoritative. Mrs. Palmer, we have orders to escort you off the property. You can't do this. This is my home. I have rights. Ma'am, we have a court order. You need to leave. Now. More shouting, more protests, the sound of a struggle, then finally silence. Dorothy's phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. She's gone. You can come out now. And Dorothy? Thank you for everything. She emerged from her room and walked slowly downstairs. The house was a mess. Cosas. Cabinet doors hung open. Papers littered the floor. A lamp had been knocked over and shattered against the wall. But Victoria was gone. Dorothy walked to the kitchen and sat down at the table. For a long moment she just breathed. Then she pulled out her phone and called Marcus. Mr. Washington. Yes, Dorothy. There's something I need to give you, a journal. I've been keeping records for the past 6 months. Everything I saw, everything Jasmine told me, everything Victoria did when you weren't here. Silence on the other end. Why didn't you show me sooner? The question was fair. Dorothy had asked herself the same thing 1,000 times. Because every time I tried to tell you something was wrong, you told me to talk to Victoria, and Victoria made it very clear what would happen if I pushed too hard. She said she would have me arrested, said she would tell everyone I was the one hurting Jasmine. She said no one would believe an old black housekeeper over the wife of Marcus Washington. She heard Marcus take a shaky breath. I am so sorry, Dorothy. I am so sorry I put you in that position. You can be sorry later, sir. Right now you need to focus on that little girl. She's been waiting 3 years for her father to come back to her. Don't make her wait any longer. I won't, I promise. Dorothy hung up and looked around the destroyed kitchen. Tomorrow she would clean everything up. Tomorrow she would make Jasmine's favorite breakfast and prepare her room with fresh sheets and flowers. But tonight she allowed herself something she hadn't felt in a very long time. Hope. At the hospital, Marcus sat beside Jasmine's bed all night. He didn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw his daughter's tear-streaked face in the cafeteria. He saw the gray, rotten food on her tray. He saw Victoria's hand gripping her shoulder. And he heard those words over and over again. Your father isn't here to protect you. He's never here. She had been right about that, at least. He had never been there, not when it mattered, but that was going to change. Jasmine stirred around 3 in the morning. Her eyes fluttered open, confused and frightened. Daddy? I'm here, baby. I'm right here. I had a bad dream. What was it about? She hesitated. Victoria was there. She said you gave me back to her. She said you didn't want me anymore. Marcus moved to the edge of her bed and pulled her into his arms. She was so small, so fragile. That will never happen, he said fiercely. Do you hear me? I will never ever let that woman near you again, and I will never give you away. You are my daughter. You are my whole world, and nothing is ever going to change that. Jasmine buried her face in his chest. I thought you forgot about me. I could never forget about you. But you were always working. And Victoria said? I don't care what Victoria said. Victoria is a liar. Everything she told you was a lie. I love you. Your mother loved you. Mrs. Jenkins loves you. You are surrounded by people who love you, Jasmine, and I'm sorry I made you feel like you weren't. She pulled back and looked at him with those big brown eyes. Angela's eyes. Daddy, can I tell you something? Anything. Sometimes, when Victoria was being really mean, I would close my eyes and pretend Mommy was still here. I would imagine her hugging me and telling me everything was going to be okay. And it helped. A little bit. Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. Your mother is still here, baby. Maybe not in a way we can see or touch. But she's here. She's watching over you. She always will be. Do you think she's mad at me? Mad at you? Why would she be mad at you? Because I let Victoria be mean to me. Because I didn't tell anyone. Because I wasn't strong enough. Marcus took her face in his hands. Listen to me, Jasmine Washington. You are the strongest person I have ever known. What Victoria did to you, that wasn't your fault. None of it was your fault. You survived. You kept going. You held on until I finally opened my eyes and saw what was happening. That takes incredible strength. Really. Really. And your mother isn't mad at you. She's proud of you. I know she is, because I'm proud of you too. Jasmine smiled. It was small and tentative, but it was real. Daddy? Yes, baby. I'm glad you came to school today. He kissed her forehead. I'm glad I came too. She fell asleep again a few minutes later, her hand still clutching his shirt. Marcus sat there watching her breathe, making silent promises to her, to Angela, to himself. He would be there from now on. Every breakfast, every dinner, every bedtime story and bad dream. He would rebuild the trust he had broken. He would give Jasmine the childhood she deserved. And he would make sure Victoria Palmer never hurt another child again. His phone buzzed, a text from Robert. Papers are ready. Restraining order granted. Police will be taking Victoria in for questioning tomorrow morning. Marcus typed back, good. What about the criminal charges? Building the case, the video from the cafeteria is powerful evidence. Combined with the medical records and the testimony from the Birmingham victim, we have a solid foundation. What's the best case scenario? Robert's response took a moment. If everything goes our way, she's looking at multiple counts of child abuse assault and possibly endangering the welfare of a minor. Could be anywhere from 2 to 5 years. That's not enough, I know, but it's a start. And there may be other victims we haven't found yet. Women like Victoria don't stop at 2. Marcus set down his phone and looked at his daughter. 2 to 5 years, for months of torture, for stealing his child's innocence, for making her afraid to eat, afraid to sleep, afraid to speak. It wasn't enough, but it was a start. And Marcus Washington had learned something important today, something that Victoria Palmer was about to find out the hard way. He would never stop fighting for his daughter, never stop protecting her, never stop showing up. The man who had been absent for 3 years was gone. In his place was a father, and God help anyone who threatened his child again. The next morning came too soon. Marcus woke with a stiff neck and aching shoulders from sleeping in the hospital chair. Jasmine was still asleep, her small chest rising and falling steadily. The IV bag was nearly empty. The monitors beeped softly. His phone showed 47 missed calls, 32 from Victoria, 15 from various media outlets he didn't recognize. He ignored them all except one. Robert Chen. "Marcus, we have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "The video from the cafeteria went viral overnight. It's been viewed over 2 million times. Every news station in Atlanta is running the story. They're camped outside your house and the hospital." Marcus closed his eyes. "How did they find out where we are?" "Someone at the hospital leaked it. I'm working on finding out who. But Marcus, this is actually good for us. Public pressure means the DA will take this case seriously. Victoria can't make this quietly disappear like she did in Birmingham." "I don't care about public pressure. I care about my daughter's privacy." "I understand. I'm sending a security team to the hospital now. They'll make sure no one gets to Jasmine without your permission. But Marcus, the police want to interview her today. Detective Williams is on his way." Marcus looked at his sleeping daughter. "She's not ready." "I know, but the sooner we get her statement on record, the stronger our case becomes. I'll be there in an hour. We'll do this together." He hung up and walked to the window. 3 news vans were already parked in the hospital lot. Reporters milled around, checking their phones, adjusting their cameras. His daughter's trauma had become entertainment. "Daddy?" He turned. Jasmine was awake, her eyes red and puffy from sleep. "Good morning, baby." "Are we going home today?" "The doctor wants to check you one more time, then yes, we can go home." "Is Victoria there?" "No, Victoria is never coming back to our house, I promise." Jasmine nodded slowly, then she said something that made his blood run cold. "She called me last night." Marcus felt his heart stop. "What?" "On the hospital phone, it rang really late. I thought it was you, so I answered it, but it was her." He crossed the room in 3 strides and sat on the edge of her bed. "What did she say about—" "She said this was all my fault. She said I ruined everything. She said—" Jasmine's voice trembled. "She said she was going to make me pay." Marcus grabbed the hospital phone and dialed 0. "I need to speak to your security department immediately. Someone made an unauthorized call to my daughter's room last night. I want to know who and how." The hospital administrator was apologetic but useless. They would investigate. They would review the call logs. They would implement new protocols. None of it mattered. Victoria had found a way to reach Jasmine even here. Marcus called Robert back. "She contacted Jasmine last night through the hospital phone." "That's a violation of the restraining order. I'll notify the police immediately. This actually helps us, Marcus. She's making mistakes." "I don't care about the case right now. I care about keeping my daughter safe." "I understand. The security team will be there in 20 minutes. No one gets near Jasmine without going through them first." 10 minutes later, Dr. Coleman arrived for morning rounds. She examined Jasmine carefully, checking her vitals, inspecting her bruises, asking gentle questions. The good news is she's responding well to the IV fluids. Her electrolytes are stabilizing. The bad news is she's going to need significant nutritional support for the next several weeks, and I'm recommending a full psychological evaluation. Whatever she needs. Dr. Coleman lowered her voice. "Mr. Washington, there's something else. During last night's examination, Jasmine mentioned something about a closet. I didn't want to push, but the child psychologist should explore this further." "What do you think it means?" "I don't want to speculate, but isolation and confinement are common tactics in cases of child abuse. If Victoria was locking Jasmine in enclosed spaces as punishment—" She didn't finish the sentence. Marcus felt sick. Detective Williams arrived at 9:30. He was a large man in his 50s with kind eyes and a gentle voice that seemed at odds with his intimidating frame. "Mr. Washington, I know this is difficult, but the sooner we get Jasmine's statement, the sooner we can move forward with charges." "She's terrified. Victoria called her last night and threatened her." The detective's expression hardened. She violated the restraining order. Yes. We'll add that to the charges. Mr. Washington, I've been doing this job for 25 years. I've seen cases like this before. The best thing you can do for your daughter is let her tell her story. These children, they need to be heard. They need to know that someone believes them. Marcus looked at Jasmine. She was watching them with wide eyes. Baby, this man is a police officer. He wants to help us make sure Victoria can never hurt you again, but he needs to ask you some questions. Is that okay? Jasmine hesitated. Then she nodded. Detective Williams pulled up a chair beside her bed. His voice was soft and patient. Jasmine, can you tell me about Victoria? What was it like living with her? Silence? It's okay. Take your time. There's no rush. Jasmine looked at her father. Marcus nodded encouragingly. She was nice when Daddy was home, Jasmine said quietly. But when he left for work, she changed. Changed how? Her face got different. Her voice got mean. She would say things like... Jasmine swallowed hard. She would say I was a burden. That Daddy didn't really love me. That he only kept me around because he felt guilty about Mommy dying. Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. He didn't wipe them away. What else did she do, Jasmine? She made me eat bad food. Not just at school. At home, too. If I didn't finish everything on my plate, she would save it and make me eat it the next day. Even if it was old and smelly. Did she ever hurt you physically? Jasmine nodded. She rolled up her sleeve and showed the detective the bruises on her arm. She grabbed me a lot and pinched me, and sometimes she would pull my hair really hard. She said if I ever told anyone, she would hurt Mrs. Jenkins. The detective wrote everything down. Jasmine, I need to ask you about something the doctor mentioned. She said you talked about a closet. Can you tell me about that? Jasmine's face went pale. Her breathing quickened. Her hands started to shake. I don't want to talk about that. It's okay. You don't have to tell me everything today, but Jasmine, whatever happened in that closet, it wasn't your fault. Do you understand? None of this was your fault. Jasmine burst into tears. Marcus gathered her into his arms, holding her tight while she sobbed. I think that's enough for today, the detective said quietly. I have what I need to move forward. Mr. Washington will be arresting Victoria Palmer within the hour. The arrest happened at 10:45. Victoria had checked into the Ritz-Carlton downtown, charging everything to Marcus's credit card. When the police arrived, she was in the middle of a spa treatment. Robert called Marcus with the details. She made a scene, screaming about police brutality and wrongful arrest. They had to physically restrain her. It's already on the news. Good. Let everyone see who she really is. There's more. When they searched her hotel room, they found something interesting. A folder full of documents, financial records, account numbers. It looks like she's been moving money for months. Moving money, what do you mean? She opened accounts in her name and started transferring funds from your joint accounts. Small amounts at first, but it adds up. Marcus, she's taken almost $300,000. Marcus felt his jaw tighten. She was planning this all along. It appears so. The good news is we can add financial fraud to the charges. The bad news is some of that money may be hard to recover. I don't care about the money. I care about putting her away. That's looking more and more likely. The Birmingham case is being reopened. Sandra Mitchell has agreed to testify. And Marcus, there may be other victims. Other victims. We're getting calls. Parents who saw the video and recognized the pattern. Victoria has worked at 3 different schools in the past decade. We're just beginning to scratch the surface. That afternoon, Jasmine was discharged from the hospital. Marcus carried her through a back entrance to avoid the media circus out front. The security team formed a protective barrier around them. Mrs. Jenkins was waiting at the house. She had cleaned everything, removing any trace of Victoria's presence. Fresh flowers sat on every table. The smell of baking filled the air. Welcome home, baby girl, Dorothy said, her eyes glistening. I made your favorite cookies. Jasmine smiled. It was small and fragile, but it was real. Thank you, Mrs. Jenkins. You call me Dorothy Child. You've always been family to me. Marcus set Jasmine down in the living room. She looked around uncertainly, as if expecting Victoria to appear at any moment. She's really gone. She's really gone. And she's in a lot of trouble. The police arrested her this morning. Will she go to jail? I'm going to do everything I can to make sure she does. Jasmine nodded slowly. Then she asked, Daddy, can I see Mommy's picture? Marcus felt his heart clench. He walked to the cabinet where he knew Angela's photos had been stored. He opened the door and found nothing. They're gone. Victoria hid them, Jasmine said quietly. She didn't want me to look at them. She said Mommy was dead and I needed to forget about her. Dorothy stepped forward. I know where they are. She walked to the kitchen and opened a drawer Marcus had never looked in. Behind the dish towels and oven mitts wrapped in a plastic bag were all of Angela's photographs. I found them in the trash one day, Dorothy explained. I couldn't let that woman throw away your memories, so I hid them. Marcus took the bag with trembling hands. He pulled out the top photo. Angela on their wedding day. Radiant. Beautiful. Alive. He handed it to Jasmine. She held it like it was made of glass. I missed you, Mommy, she whispered. That night, Marcus tucked Jasmine into bed for the first time in years. He read her a story. He checked under the bed for monsters. He left the hallway light on because she asked him to. Daddy, will you stay until I fall asleep? Of course, baby. He sat on the edge of her bed holding her hand. Her eyes grew heavy. Her breathing slowed. Daddy. Yes. I love you. 3 words. 3 simple words that he hadn't heard from her in months. Maybe longer. I love you too, Jasmine, more than anything in this world. She smiled and closed her eyes. Within minutes, she was asleep. Marcus sat there for a long time watching her breathe, making silent promises, vowing to be the father she deserved. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You think you've won. This is just the beginning. I will destroy everything you love. He blocked the number and called Robert. Victoria is still finding ways to contact us. She sent a threatening text. From jail. Apparently. I'll notify the DA. This woman is digging her own grave. Marcus hoped he was right. The next 3 days were a blur of lawyers, police interviews, and media requests. Marcus declined every interview. He released one statement through Robert. My only focus is my daughter's well-being. I ask that the media respect our privacy during this difficult time. They didn't, of course. Reporters camped outside his gate. Helicopters circled overhead. His phone rang constantly with numbers he didn't recognize. But inside the house, something was changing. Jasmine was slowly coming back to life. She started eating again, small portions at first, but the color was returning to her cheeks. She laughed at Dorothy's jokes. She drew pictures and showed them to her father. On the 4th day, she asked if she could go back to school. Marcus hesitated. Are you sure you're ready? I want to see my friend Maya. She was nice to me. She tried to share her food with me once, but Victoria stopped her. We can arrange a play date, but going back to that school, I don't know if that's a good idea. I don't want Victoria to win, Jasmine said. She wanted me to be scared forever. I don't want to be scared anymore. Marcus felt pride swell in his chest. His daughter was stronger than he had ever given her credit for. Let me talk to the school first. Make sure it's safe. That afternoon, he called Principal Mitchell. The man sounded nervous. Mr. Washington, I want to express my deepest apologies for what happened. We had no idea. Save it. I want a meeting. Today, at the school. Bring anyone who had contact with Victoria in a supervisory capacity. I don't think that's... I'm still the largest donor to this school. You'll make time for me, or I'll make sure every parent on your enrollment list knows exactly what happened under your watch. The meeting was scheduled for 4 o'clock. Marcus arrived at Riverside Academy with Robert by his side. Principal Mitchell was waiting in the conference room along with the vice principal and 2 members of the school board. They all looked terrified. Mr. Washington, please understand, we had no knowledge of what Victoria was doing. Stop. Marcus held up his hand. I'm not here to listen to excuses. I'm here to understand how this happened and make sure it never happens again. He pulled out his phone and played the cafeteria video. The sound of Victoria's voice filled the room. The image of Jasmine trembling, the leftover food being dumped on her tray. This happened in your cafeteria, Marcus said. In front of dozens of witnesses, teachers, staff, students, and not one person stopped it. We didn't know. You didn't want to know. There's a difference. He leaned forward. I've spoken to your cafeteria staff. They told me Victoria had been doing this for months. They reported it to the administration. Do you know what they were told? Silence. They were told to mind their own business. They were told that Victoria Palmer was a respected educator with connections to a major donor. They were told that their jobs depended on keeping their mouths shut. Principal Mitchell's face had gone gray. That's not... I never said... Then who did? More silence. Robert stepped in. Principal Mitchell, We're prepared to file a lawsuit against this institution for negligence, failure to report suspected child abuse, and creating a hostile environment for a minor. The damages we're seeking are substantial. Please. The principal's voice cracked. Please, Mr. Washington, I have a family. I've worked here for 20 years. I made a mistake. I should have listened. I should have investigated. But I never thought Victoria would actually... She was so convincing, so professional. So was Ted Bundy. The room went cold. Here's what's going to happen, Marcus said. You're going to implement new protocols for reporting suspected abuse. You're going to train every staff member to recognize the signs. You're going to create an anonymous tip line for students and parents. And you're going to pay for every penny of my daughter's medical and psychological treatment. You can't afford not to, because if I go public with what I know about how this school covered up Victoria's behavior, you won't have to worry about affording anything. This institution will cease to exist. Principal Mitchell nodded slowly. We'll do whatever you ask. Good. And one more thing. Keisha Johnson, the cafeteria worker who tried to stop Victoria that day, she's getting a raise, a significant one, paid for by the school board members in this room. That's not how... I don't care how things are usually done. That young woman showed more courage than anyone else in this building. She deserves to be rewarded for it. The meeting ended 30 minutes later. Marcus walked out feeling empty. Justice he was learning was a hollow thing. It didn't undo the damage. It didn't heal the wounds. It just made sure the people responsible faced consequences. Sometimes that had to be enough. When he got home, Dorothy met him at the door. Her face was troubled. Mr. Washington, there's someone here to see you. She says her name is Patricia Holmes. She says her son was in Victoria's class 2 years ago. Marcus found the woman sitting in the living room. She was in her 40s, well-dressed, with eyes that carried the same haunted look he had seen in his own mirror. Mr. Washington, thank you for seeing me. I know this is unexpected. What can I do for you, Mrs. Holmes? I saw the video, the one from the cafeteria, and I recognized what was happening immediately, because Victoria did the same thing to my son. Marcus sat down heavily. Tell me everything. Derek was 9 when Victoria was his teacher. He was a happy kid before that year, loved school, loved his friends, but something changed. He started having nightmares. He stopped eating. He would cry every morning before school. Did you report it? I tried, but Victoria was so charming, so professional. She convinced me that Derek was going through a phase. She said he was struggling with attention issues and needed firmer guidance. I believed her. Patricia's voice broke. I believed her, and I let her keep hurting my son. What happened? Derek had a breakdown at school. He locked himself in a bathroom and refused to come out for 3 hours. When they finally got him out, he was covered in scratches, self-inflicted. He spent 2 weeks in a psychiatric facility. Marcus felt sick. Did anyone investigate Victoria? The school said there was no evidence of wrongdoing. Victoria transferred to another district at the end of the year. We tried to press charges, but without proof. She shook her head. We gave up. We moved. We tried to forget. How is Derek now? He's better. It took years of therapy, but he's in college now. He's doing okay. Patricia looked at him. Mr. Washington, I came here because I want to help. I want to make sure Victoria can't do this to anyone else. Derek is willing to testify if it will help your case. Marcus reached out and took her hand. Thank you. That means more than you know. By the end of the week, 3 more families had come forward. Victoria had left a trail of damaged children across 3 states in 10 years. Each story was different in its details, but identical in its pattern. She targeted vulnerable children. She isolated them from their peers. She used food as a weapon. She threatened and manipulated until her victims were too afraid to speak, and when things got too hot, she moved on, found a new job, a new city, new victims. Until now. Victoria's bail hearing was scheduled for Friday morning. Marcus attended sitting in the back of the courtroom with Robert beside him. Victoria was let in wearing an orange jumpsuit. Her hair was disheveled. Her face was pale. She looked nothing like the polished woman Marcus had married. She scanned the courtroom until her eyes found him. For a moment, the mask slipped. Pure hatred burned in her gaze. Then it was gone, replaced by the wounded, innocent expression he had grown to recognize. Her lawyer argued for bail. Victoria was a respected educator with no prior criminal record. She had deep ties to the community. She was not a flight risk. The prosecutor disagreed. Victoria had violated a restraining order within hours of its issuance. She had made threatening phone calls and sent intimidating texts. She had demonstrated a pattern of behavior spanning multiple states and many years. The judge took less than a minute to decide. Bail is denied. The defendant will remain in custody pending trial. Victoria's composure finally shattered. This is ridiculous. I'm innocent. That man is lying. That child is lying. Everyone is lying. The bailiff moved to restrain her. Victoria fought against him, screaming obscenities. You'll pay for this, Marcus. You hear me? You'll pay for everything. She was dragged from the courtroom, still screaming. Marcus sat motionless, watching her go. He felt nothing. No satisfaction. No relief. Just a hollow emptiness where his trust used to be. Robert placed a hand on his shoulder. It's over. She's not getting out. It's not over. It won't be over until she's convicted. Until every family she destroyed gets justice. Until my daughter can sleep through the night without waking up screaming. That will come. It just takes time. Time. Marcus had wasted so much of it already. 3 years of his daughter's life lost to grief and work and willful blindness. He wasn't going to waste any more. That afternoon, he called a board meeting at Washington Capital Group. His senior executives looked at him with concern. Marcus, you've been through a lot this week. Maybe you should take some time before making any major decisions. I've already made my decision. I'm stepping back from day-to-day operations, effective immediately. Stunned silence. I'm promoting Sandra Williams to CEO. She's been my right hand for 15 years. She knows this company better than anyone except me. I'll retain my position as chairman, but I won't be coming into the office every day anymore. Marcus, the Henderson deal. Someone else can handle the Henderson deal. My daughter needs me more than this company does. He stood up and looked around the room. These were people he had worked with for decades. People he had trusted with his professional life. But they weren't family. I built this company from nothing, he said. I sacrificed everything for it. My time, my health, my marriage, my relationship with my daughter, and for what? So I could be rich, so I could see my name in magazines. He shook his head. I almost lost Jasmine, not to an accident or an illness, but to my own neglect. I was so busy building an empire that I didn't notice my own child was being tortured in my own home, by a woman I invited into our lives. His voice cracked. He didn't try to hide it. I can't get those months back. I can't undo the damage that's been done, but I can make sure it never happens again, and that means being present, being there, being a father. He walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back. This company will survive without me. My daughter won't. He walked out and didn't look back. At home, Jasmine was waiting for him. She had drawn a picture and was eager to show it off. Look, Daddy, it's our family. Marcus took the drawing. 3 figures stood in front of a house. A tall man with gray at his temples, a small girl with braids, and an older woman with a warm smile. Him. Jasmine. Dorothy. Where's Mommy? He asked gently. Jasmine pointed to the sky. Above the house, she had drawn a figure surrounded by clouds and stars. Mommy is watching us from heaven. She's happy that you're home now. Marcus felt tears sliding down his cheeks. This is beautiful, baby. The most beautiful picture I've ever seen. Can we hang it on the refrigerator? We can hang it anywhere you want. That night, after Jasmine was asleep, Marcus sat in his study with a glass of bourbon he didn't drink. Dorothy knocked softly on the door. Mr. Washington, there's something I need to give you. She handed him a worn notebook. The pages were yellowed and filled with her careful handwriting. What is this, Popko? My journal. I started keeping it the day Victoria moved in. Everything I saw, everything Jasmine told me, every time I tried to warn you and you didn't listen. Marcus opened the notebook. The first entry was dated 6 months ago. Mrs. Palmer yelled at Jasmine today for spilling milk. When I came into the kitchen, she was smiling, like nothing happened. But Jasmine was shaking. Something is wrong with this woman. He turned the pages. Entry after entry documenting Victoria's cruelty, her manipulation, her lies. Why didn't you show me this sooner? Dorothy's eyes were filled with tears. I tried, sir. Every time I tried to tell you something was wrong, you told me to talk to Victoria. And Victoria made it clear what would happen if I pushed too hard. She threatened you. She said she would have me arrested for theft. Said she would plant something in my room and call the police. Said no one would believe an old black housekeeper over the wife of Marcus Washington. Marcus closed the notebook. I'm sorry, Dorothy. I'm so sorry I put you in that position. I don't need your apology, sir. I just need you to keep that little girl safe. I will, I promise. Dorothy nodded and turned to leave. Then she stopped. Mr. Washington, your wife, your first wife, she would be proud of you for waking up, for fighting for Jasmine. Marcus looked at Angela's photograph on his desk, her smile, her eyes, the woman who had seen the best in him even when he couldn't see it himself. "I hope so, Dorothy. I really hope so." The trial was scheduled to begin in 3 months, but before that, there was something Marcus needed to do. He arranged a meeting with Sandra Mitchell from Birmingham. They met at a coffee shop halfway between their cities. "Thank you for coming," Marcus said. "Thank you for believing us." Sandra's eyes were red like she had been crying recently. "For 10 years, I've been waiting for someone to believe us. I'm sorry it took so long." "Don't be sorry. Just help us finish this." They talked for 2 hours. Sandra told him everything about her daughter Maya's experience. The isolation, the food manipulation, the threats, the psychological torture that left lasting scars. "Maya is 22 now," Sandra said. "She's in therapy. She struggles with eating disorders and anxiety, but she's alive. She's fighting. And when she heard about your daughter, she cried, not because it brought back bad memories, but because finally someone was going to stop Victoria. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure Victoria never hurts another child." "I know you will." Sandra reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "And Mr. Washington, your daughter is lucky to have you, not because you're rich or powerful, but because you saw the truth and you chose to act. That's more than most people do." Marcus drove home with Sandra's words echoing in his mind. That's more than most people do, but it wasn't enough. Not for him, not anymore. He pulled into his driveway and saw Jasmine waiting at the window. When she spotted his car, her face lit up. She ran to the door and threw it open. "Daddy, you're home." He scooped her into his arms and held her tight. "I'm home, baby, and I'm not going anywhere." She pulled back and looked at him with those big brown eyes. "Promise." "I promise, every day from now on, I promise." She smiled, a real smile, the kind he hadn't seen in months. "I love you, Daddy." "I love you too, Jasmine, more than you'll ever know." He carried her inside, closing the door behind them on the cameras and the reporters and the chaos of the outside world. In here, it was just the two of them, father and daughter, rebuilding what had been broken. It wouldn't be easy. There would be setbacks and nightmares and moments when the pain felt unbearable. The trial was coming. Victoria would fight. The media would dig up every detail of their lives. But Marcus was ready, because he had finally learned what mattered. Not the deals, not the money, not the empire he had built, just the small hand in his, the smile on his daughter's face, the chance to be the father she deserved. Everything else was just noise. 3 weeks before the trial, Marcus received a phone call that changed everything. He was sitting in the living room watching Jasmine draw when his phone buzzed. The number was blocked. "Mr. Washington, please don't hang up. My name is Rebecca Palmer. Victoria is my sister." Marcus felt his blood turn cold. "How did you get this number?" "It doesn't matter. What matters is what I'm about to tell you. Victoria is planning something bad, and you need to be prepared." "Why should I trust you?" "Because I've spent my entire life cleaning up her messes, and I'm tired. I'm so tired of watching her destroy people and walk away without consequences." Marcus stood up and walked into his study, closing the door behind him. "I'm listening." "Victoria has been manipulating people since we were children. She learned it from our mother. How to charm, how to deceive, how to make people believe whatever she wanted them to believe. I watched her destroy 3 marriages before she turned 25. Not her own marriages, other people's. She did it for sport." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because she's not going to stop. Even from jail she's planning. She has friends. People who owe her favors. People who are afraid of what she knows about them." "What kind of friends?" Rebecca hesitated. "There's a man. His name is David Chen. He's a private investigator. Victoria hired him 6 months ago. I don't know what for, but she paid him a lot of money. Cash. Untraceable." Marcus wrote down the name. "What else?" "She kept files on everyone she ever targeted. Photos, documents, evidence of things people wanted to keep hidden. She called it her insurance policy." "Where are these files?" "I don't know. She never told me. But Marcus, she has something on you. I don't know what it is, but she mentioned it once. She said if things ever went wrong, she had a way to destroy you." The line went dead. Marcus stared at the phone for a long moment. Then he called Robert. "We have a problem." Robert arrived at the house within an hour. Marcus told him everything Rebecca had said. "David Chen, I know that name." Robert pulled out his laptop and typed rapidly. "He's been involved in some shady cases, corporate espionage, blackmail. Nothing that ever stuck, but his reputation is well known in legal circles. Can we find out what Victoria hired him for? I'll put some people on it. But Marcus, if she really has something on you, we need to know what it is before the trial. There's nothing. I've never done anything illegal. I've never cheated on my taxes. I've never had an affair. I don't have secrets. Robert looked at him steadily. Everyone has secrets, Marcus, even the ones we keep from ourselves. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, trying to think of anything Victoria could possibly use against him. His business dealings were clean. His personal life was non-existent, really. Before Victoria, he had barely dated since Angela died. He had been too consumed by grief and work to even think about relationships. What could she possibly have? The answer came 3 days later in the form of a manila envelope delivered to his office. Inside were photographs, dozens of them. Marcus at various locations around the city, getting coffee, walking into buildings, sitting in his car. And in every photo there was a timestamp, a location, documentation of his movements over the past year. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the photos of Jasmine, his daughter at school, at the park, walking with Mrs. Jenkins, sleeping in her bedroom photographed through the window. Marcus's hands were shaking as he reached the last item in the envelope, a typed note. I know everything about your daughter, where she goes, what she does, who she talks to. If you testify against me, this information goes to people who would pay a lot of money for access to a vulnerable child. Your choice. He called Robert immediately. She's threatening Jasmine. She's threatening to sell information about my daughter to predators. Where are you? Come at the office. Don't touch anything else in that envelope. I'm calling the police. Detective Williams arrived within 20 minutes. He examined the envelope with gloved hands, his expression growing darker with each photograph. This is witness intimidation, and the implied threat against your daughter constitutes child endangerment. We can add these charges to the existing case. I don't care about charges. I care about keeping Jasmine safe. We'll increase security. I'll have officers stationed outside your home 24/7. That's not enough. Mr. Washington, I understand your fear, but Victoria Palmer is in custody. She can't hurt Jasmine directly. She doesn't need to hurt her directly. She just needs to give the wrong person the wrong information. That evening, Marcus made a decision. He called a real estate agent. I need a house, somewhere remote, somewhere with security, and I need it yesterday. Mr. Washington, properties like that don't just appear overnight. I'll pay triple the asking price. Find me something. 2 days later, he was signing papers on a property outside of Savannah, a gated estate with state-of-the-art security, motion sensors, cameras, a panic room. It felt like overkill. It felt like paranoia. But every time he closed his eyes, he saw those photographs of Jasmine sleeping, taken through her bedroom window, by someone who had been watching them for months. He told Jasmine they were going on an adventure, a new house. But what about my school? What about my friends? It's just temporary, baby, until the trial is over, then we can come back. Is this because of Victoria? He knelt down to meet her eyes. Yes, I need to keep you safe, and right now, the safest place is somewhere new, somewhere she doesn't know about. Jasmine nodded slowly. Okay, Daddy, if you think it's best. They moved the following weekend. Dorothy came with them, of course. Marcus couldn't imagine facing any of this without her steady presence. The new house was beautiful, but it felt like a fortress. Jasmine explored every room with wide eyes, but Marcus noticed she kept looking over her shoulder, checking corners, listening for sounds that weren't there. Victoria had done this to her, turned his bright, curious daughter into a child who was afraid of her own shadow. The rage that burned in his chest was constant now, a low fire that never went out. 1 week before the trial, Robert called with news. We found out what David Chen was doing for Victoria. Tell me. He was investigating you, your business, your personal life, your employees, anyone who might have information Victoria could use. Did he find anything? Robert hesitated. There's something you need to know, Marcus, something from your past. What are you talking about? Do you remember a woman named Clarissa Monroe? The name hit Marcus like a physical blow. He sat down heavily in his chair. That was 15 years ago. I know, but Victoria knows too, and she's planning to use it. Clarissa Monroe, a junior analyst at his company back when Washington Capital was just getting started. Brilliant, ambitious. And for 3 months they had an affair while Angela was pregnant with Jasmine. It was the biggest mistake of his life. The guilt had nearly destroyed him. He had ended it before Angela ever found out, and he had spent the next 15 years trying to be the husband she deserved. He had never told anyone, not even Angela. How did Victoria find out? Chen tracked down Clarissa. She's married now, lives in Seattle. Victoria's lawyer has her on the witness list. They're going to call her to testify about your character. This has nothing to do with the case. No, but it has everything to do with your credibility. If Victoria can paint you as a liar and a cheater, the jury might start questioning everything else you've said. Marcus felt sick. What do I do? You get ahead of it. You tell the truth before she can twist it into something worse. Tell who? The prosecutor, the jury, everyone who matters, including your daughter. The thought of telling Jasmine about his affair made Marcus want to die. How could he explain to an 8-year-old that her father had betrayed her mother, that the perfect marriage she remembered was built on a lie? She's too young. She's going to hear about it in court, Marcus. Would you rather she hear it from you or from Victoria's lawyer? He knew Robert was right, but knowing didn't make it any easier. That night after Jasmine was in bed, he sat with Dorothy in the kitchen. There's something I need to tell you, something I've never told anyone. Dorothy poured him a cup of tea and sat down across from him. I'm listening. He told her everything, the affair, the guilt, the years of trying to make up for it without Angela ever knowing. When he finished, Dorothy was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Does this change anything about what Victoria did to your daughter? No. Does it change the evidence against her? No. Then why does it matter? Because it makes me a hypocrite. I'm accusing Victoria of lying and deceiving, and all the while I was doing the same thing to Angela. Dorothy reached across the table and took his hand. Mr. Washington, I've known you for 12 years. I knew Miss Angela for 10, and I'm going to tell you something that might be hard to hear. What? She knew. Marcus felt the ground shift beneath him. What? Miss Angela knew about the affair. She never said anything to you, but she talked to me about it. She was hurt. She was angry, but she chose to forgive you. She chose to move forward because she loved you and she believed you would never do it again. She knew all this time she knew. She knew and she stayed because that's what love is, Mr. Washington. It's not pretending to be perfect. It's choosing each other even when you're not. Marcus broke down. All the guilt he had carried for 15 years, all the secrets, all the shame. Angela had known and she had loved him anyway. Why didn't she ever say anything? Because she was waiting for you to tell her. She wanted you to trust her with the truth, but you never did. Dorothy squeezed his hand. Don't make the same mistake with Jasmine. Tell her the truth, all of it, before someone else tells her a twisted version. The next morning, Marcus sat Jasmine down in the living room. Baby, there's something I need to tell you, something about before you were born. It's hard for me to talk about, but I want you to hear it from me. Jasmine looked at him with those big brown eyes. Angela's eyes. A long time ago, before you were born, I did something wrong. Something that hurt your mother. I made a mistake and I've felt bad about it every day since. What kind of mistake? I had a friend, a woman I worked with, and for a little while I cared about her in a way I shouldn't have, in a way that wasn't fair to your mother. Jasmine was quiet for a moment. You mean like how married people aren't supposed to have girlfriends? Yes, exactly like that. Did Mommy know? She did, and she forgave me, but I never told her I was sorry. I was too scared. And now she's gone, and I can never apologize to her properly. Jasmine considered this. Then she said something that shattered his heart and put it back together at the same time. Mommy must have loved you a lot, to forgive you for something like that. She did, more than I deserved. I think... Jasmine paused, choosing her words carefully. I think that's what love is. Forgiving people even when they mess up. That's what Mommy always told me. She said nobody's perfect and the people who love us help us be better. Marcus pulled his daughter into his arm. When did you get so wise? I learned it from Mommy. And from you. The trial began on a Tuesday morning in October. The courthouse was surrounded by media. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Marcus kept his head down and his hand on Jasmine's shoulder as they walked inside. Robert had arranged for Jasmine to wait in a private room with Dorothy during the proceedings. She was too young to be in the courtroom, and Marcus didn't want her to see Victoria. But Victoria saw her. As Marcus guided Jasmine through the corridor, a door opened and Victoria emerged, flanked by guards. Their eyes met. Victoria smiled. It was the same pleasant, charming smile she had worn throughout their marriage. But now Marcus could see what lay beneath it. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Jasmine, sweetheart, Victoria called out. I miss you so much. Tell Daddy to stop being so silly. Tell him to bring you home." Jasmine pressed closer to Marcus, her small body trembling. "Don't look at her, baby. Just keep walking." "I love you, Jasmine. I've always loved you. Everything I did was because I love you." Marcus whirled around, placing himself between Victoria and his daughter. "If you say one more word to her, I will make sure you never see sunlight again." Victoria's smile didn't waver. "I'm just expressing my affection for my stepdaughter. Is that a crime now, too?" The guards pulled her away, but her laughter echoed down the corridor. Jasmine was crying by the time they reached the private room. Dorothy gathered her into her arms and rocked her gently. "She's scared me, Daddy. Even now. Even when she can't touch me, she scares me." Marcus knelt beside her. "I know, baby, but she can't hurt you anymore. All she has left are words. And words can't hurt you unless you let them." "But what if she gets out? What if the jury believes her?" "They won't, because we have the truth on our side, and the truth always wins eventually." He wished he believed that as much as he wanted her to. The prosecution's opening statement was powerful. They laid out Victoria's pattern of abuse spanning multiple states and many years. They described the physical evidence, the witness testimony, the systematic cruelty inflicted on vulnerable children. Victoria's lawyer countered with a different narrative. A dedicated educator unfairly targeted by a wealthy man seeking to blame someone else for his daughter's emotional problems. A loving stepmother whose discipline methods had been misunderstood and exaggerated. Marcus watched the jury's faces as both sides spoke. 12 ordinary people tasked with determining the truth. Some looked sympathetic, others looked skeptical. One woman in the back row kept glancing at Victoria with something that looked almost like pity. The first witness was Dr. Coleman. She testified about Jasmine's condition when she was admitted to the hospital. The malnutrition, the ulcers, the bruises. Victoria's lawyer cross-examined aggressively. "Dr. Coleman, isn't it true that children can develop eating disorders for many reasons that have nothing to do with abuse?" "That's true." "And isn't it also true that bruises can occur during normal childhood play?" "Yes, but the pattern of injuries I observed was not consistent with accidental trauma. The finger-shaped bruises on Jasmine's upper arms were clearly inflicted by an adult hand." "In your expert opinion?" "In my medical opinion, based on 30 years of experience treating children." The lawyer moved on. "Let's talk about Mr. Washington. Were you aware that he had a history of infidelity during his first marriage?" Robert jumped to his feet. "Objection. Relevance." "Goes to credibility, Your Honor." "I'll allow it. The witness may answer." Dr. Coleman looked uncomfortable. "I was not aware of Mr. Washington's personal history. So you have no way of knowing whether his accusations against my client are motivated by guilt over his own failures as a husband and father." "I can only speak to the medical evidence." No further questions. Marcus felt the tide shifting. Victoria's lawyer was good. Really good. Every piece of evidence was being reframed. Every witness was being discredited. During the lunch break, Robert pulled him aside. "We need Jasmine to testify." "Absolutely not." "Marcus, I know how you feel, but the jury needs to hear from her. They need to see what Victoria did to a real child, not just read about it in medical reports." "She's 8 years old. I'm not putting her through that." "If she doesn't testify, Victoria might walk." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. "There has to be another way." "There isn't. The other victims are adults now. Their memories are distant. Their trauma has been processed and analyzed. But Jasmine is living proof of what Victoria is capable of. Her testimony could make the difference between conviction and acquittal." Marcus walked to the window and looked out at the courthouse plaza. Reporters milled about. Cameramen adjusted their equipment. Somewhere out there, people were going about their ordinary lives unaware of the battle being fought inside these walls. "Let me talk to her. Let me explain what's being asked." "Of course, but Marcus, the decision has to be hers. If she's not willing to do this, we can't force her." That evening, Marcus sat Jasmine down in their hotel room. "Baby, I need to talk to you about something important." "About the trial?" "Yes, the lawyers think it would help if you told the jury what happened to you, what Victoria did." Jasmine's face went pale. "You mean I have to talk in front of all those people?" "Yes, and Victoria would be there too, watching, listening." "I don't want to see her again." "I know. And if you say no, I'll respect that. I'll never ask you again. But Jasmine, if you don't tell your story, Victoria might not go to prison. She might get to go free. And then she could hurt other kids." "Maybe?" "Yes." Jasmine was quiet for a long moment. Her small hands twisted in her lap. Her lower lip trembled. Then she looked up at her father with a determination that took his breath away. "I'll do it." "Are you sure you don't have to?" "I know I don't have to, but I want to, not for me, for the other kids, the ones Victoria might hurt if she gets out." Marcus pulled her into his arms. "You are the bravest person I've ever known." "I learned it from you, Daddy." The next morning, Jasmine Washington took the witness stand. She looked impossibly small sitting in that big wooden chair, her feet barely touching the floor. The courtroom fell silent as the prosecutor approached her. "Jasmine, can you tell us about Victoria? What was she like when your father wasn't home?" Jasmine gripped the arms of the chair. Her eyes found Marcus in the gallery. He nodded encouragingly. "She was different when Daddy was gone. Her face would change. Her voice would get mean. She would say things like I was a burden, that Daddy didn't really love me, that he only kept me around because he felt guilty about Mommy dying." "What else did she do?" "She made me eat bad food, at school and at home. If I didn't finish everything, she would save it and make me eat it the next day, even if it was spoiled." "Did she ever hurt you physically?" Jasmine nodded. She rolled up her sleeve, showing the fading bruises that were still visible on her arm. "She grabbed me a lot and pinched me, and sometimes she would pull my hair. She said if I ever told anyone, she would hurt Mrs. Jenkins and blame everything on her." The prosecutor nodded gently. "Jasmine, I need to ask you about something else, something the doctor mentioned. Can you tell us about the closet?" Marcus felt his heart stop. They had never gotten the full story about the closet. Jasmine had refused to talk about it even with the therapist, but now in front of the entire courtroom, she began to speak. "When I was really bad, when I made Victoria really angry, she would lock me in the closet under the stairs. It was dark and small, and I couldn't see anything. Sometimes she would leave me there for hours. I would scream and cry, but nobody could hear me." "How often did this happen?" "I don't know, a lot. Maybe once a week, sometimes more." "And did you ever tell anyone about this?" Jasmine shook her head. "Victoria said if I told anyone, she would say I was lying. She said no one would believe a child over a teacher. She said Daddy was too busy to care anyway." Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. He didn't try to hide them. "Thank you, Jasmine. No further questions." Victoria's lawyer rose for cross-examination. She approached the witness stand with a gentle smile. "Jasmine, you love your father very much, don't you?" "Yes." "And you want him to be happy?" "Yes." "Is it possible that some of the things you remember about Victoria are exaggerated? Maybe because you were sad about your mother and you didn't want anyone to replace her." Jasmine's eyes narrowed. "Victoria didn't want to replace my mother. She wanted to erase her. She threw away all of Mommy's pictures. She told me I needed to forget about her." "But isn't it natural for a new stepmother to want to create her own relationship with you without the shadow of the past? She locked me in a closet. She made me eat rotten food. She told me my father didn't love me." Jasmine's voice rose. "How is that creating a relationship?" The lawyer stepped back, clearly surprised by the child's composure. "No further questions." Jasmine stepped down from the witness stand and walked straight to her father. Marcus gathered her into his arms and held her tight. "You did so good, baby. I'm so proud of you." "Is it over now?" Almost over." The closing arguments came the next day. The prosecutor summarized the evidence, the medical records, the witness testimony, the pattern of abuse spanning years and states, the photograph surveillance and threatening letters. Victoria's lawyer made a final appeal to the jury's sympathy. A woman whose only crime was caring too much. A teacher whose methods were strict but well-intentioned. A stepmother trying to navigate the impossible challenge of joining a grieving family. Then it was time for the jury to deliberate. Marcus waited in the courthouse corridor. Dorothy kept Jasmine occupied with coloring books and snacks. Robert paced back and forth, checking his phone obsessively. Hours passed. Morning turned to afternoon. Afternoon turned to evening. Finally, at 7:43 p.m., the jury returned. Everyone filed back into the courtroom. Marcus felt his heart pounding so hard he thought it might burst through his chest. The judge asked the jury foreperson to stand. "Have you reached a verdict?" "We have, Your Honor." "On the count of child abuse in the first degree, how do you find Brady guilty?" Marcus exhaled. "On the count of child endangerment, how do you find guilty?" "On the count of witness intimidation, how do you find guilty?" "On the count of assault, how do you find guilty, 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 guilty?" Victoria screamed. She jumped to her feet, pointing at Marcus. You did this. You and that lying brat. I gave everything to that family, and this is how they repay me. I should have gotten rid of that child when I had the chance. The bailiffs restrained her. She was still screaming as they dragged her from the courtroom. You haven't won. You hear me, Marcus? This isn't over. I will destroy you. I will destroy everything you love. The courtroom doors closed behind her. Silence. Then applause. Scattered at first, then growing louder. People were crying. Strangers were hugging. Marcus sat motionless, unable to process what had just happened. Robert clapped him on the shoulder. It's over. She's going to prison. For how long? The judge will sentence her next week. Given the multiple convictions and the pattern of behavior, I'd expect somewhere between 8 and 15 years. 8 to 15 years. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But it was something. He walked out of the courtroom and found Jasmine waiting in the corridor. Dorothy stood behind her, tears streaming down her face. Daddy, did we win? Marcus knelt down and took his daughter's hands. Yes, baby, we won. Jasmine threw her arms around his neck. Does this mean Victoria is going to jail? Yes, for a long, long time. Good. Jasmine's voice was fierce. She deserves it. They walked out of the courthouse together, father and daughter, hand in hand. The media swarmed around them, but Marcus barely noticed. He was focused on Jasmine, on her smile, on the light that was slowly returning to her eyes. They had won, but Marcus knew that the real battle was just beginning. The battle to heal, the battle to rebuild, the battle to create a life where his daughter could feel safe and loved and whole again. That night, back at their temporary home in Savannah, Marcus tucked Jasmine into bed. Daddy. Yes, baby. Thank you for believing me. I will always believe you, Jasmine. Always. And Daddy? Yes. I think Mommy would be proud of us. Marcus felt tears welling up again. I think so too, baby. I think so too. He kissed her forehead and turned off the light. As he walked to the door, he heard her voice one more time. Daddy, can we go home now? Our real home. He turned back. Yes, Jasmine, we can go home. The sentencing hearing took place on a cold November morning exactly 1 week after the verdict. Marcus arrived at the courthouse at 8:15 a.m. He had left Jasmine at home with Dorothy despite her protests. She didn't need to see Victoria again. She didn't need to hear whatever poisonous words that woman might spew in her final moments of freedom. Robert met him in the lobby. The DA is pushing for the maximum sentence, 15 years. Given the multiple convictions and the evidence of a pattern spanning multiple states, the judge might actually go for it. 15 years isn't enough. I know, but it's what the law allows. They took their seats in the gallery. The courtroom filled slowly. Marcus recognized some of the faces. Sandra Mitchell from Birmingham there to see justice finally served for her daughter. Patricia Holmes, whose son Derek had nearly been destroyed by Victoria's cruelty. Other parents he had met during the trial, all united by the same terrible experience. Victoria was brought in at 9:00 a.m. sharp. She looked different. The polished professional woman Marcus had married was gone. In her place was someone gaunt and pale, her hair disheveled, her eyes hollow. Prison had not been kind to her, but when her gaze found Marcus in the crowd, something flickered behind those empty eyes. Hatred, pure and undisguised. The judge called the court to order. Mrs. Palmer, you have been convicted of child abuse in the first degree, child endangerment, witness, intimidation, and assault. Before I deliver my sentence, do you have anything you wish to say? Victoria's lawyer whispered something to her. She shook her head and stood up. Yes, Your Honor, I have something to say. The courtroom went silent. I am not guilty of these crimes. I was a dedicated educator who gave everything to help troubled children. Jasmine Washington was a disturbed girl from a broken home acting out because she couldn't accept that her mother was dead and her father had moved on. Marcus felt his hands curl into fists. Marcus Washington is a liar and a manipulator. He used his money and his influence to destroy me because I saw through his facade. I saw how he neglected his daughter. I saw how he used her as a prop to make himself look good while he buried himself in work and affairs. Objection, Robert called out. This is character assassination, not a statement of remorse. Mrs. Palmer, the judge said sharply, I would advise you to focus on the matter at hand. Victoria ignored him. Her voice rose, growing more shrill with each word. I tried to help that child. I tried to give her discipline and structure. And this is my reward prison because a rich man didn't like being told the truth about his own failures. She turned to face Marcus directly. You think you've won, Marcus? You think this is over. I have friends, I have connections, and I have a very long memory. One day when you least expect it, I will make you pay for what you've done to me. You and that ungrateful brat you call a daughter. The courtroom erupted. The judge banged his gavel repeatedly. Order, I will have order in this court. Victoria was still ranting when the bailiffs restrained her. She fought against them, screaming obscenities, her face contorted with rage. Get your hands off me, I'm not finished. Marcus, do you hear me? This isn't over. It will never be over. They dragged her back to the defendant's table. She was breathing heavily, her chest heaving, her eyes wild. The judge waited until silence was restored. Then he spoke, his voice cold and measured. Mrs. Palmer, I have presided over many cases in my 30 years on the bench. I have seen criminals of every stripe, murderers, thieves, predators of every kind, but I have rarely encountered someone so utterly devoid of remorse as you. Victoria opened her mouth to speak. Her lawyer grabbed her arm and shook his head. You have shown no understanding of the harm you have caused, no acknowledgement of the children whose lives you have damaged, no recognition that your actions were anything other than justified. This tells me that you are not just a criminal, but a danger to society. He paused, letting the words sink in. Therefore, it is the judgment of this court that you be sentenced to the maximum term allowed by law. 15 years in state prison with no possibility of parole for the first 10 years. Victoria screamed. No, you can't do this. I'll appeal. I'll fight this until my last breath. Additionally, the judge continued, raising his voice over her protests. You are hereby permanently stripped of any teaching credentials. You are forbidden from working with children in any capacity for the rest of your life. And upon your release, you will be registered as a child abuser with all the restrictions that entails. This is injustice. This is persecution. Take her away. The bailiffs lifted Victoria from her chair. She kicked and thrashed, but they held her firm. As they dragged her toward the side door, she twisted around for one final look at Marcus. I'll see you in hell, Marcus Washington. I'll see you in hell. The door closed behind her. Her screams echoed for a few moments longer, then faded into silence. Marcus sat motionless, his heart pounding. It was over. It was finally over. Sandra Mitchell appeared beside him. Her eyes were red, but she was smiling. We did it. We actually did it. It doesn't feel real. It will. Give it time. She squeezed his hand. Thank you, Marcus, for not giving up, for fighting when so many others would have walked away. I didn't do it alone. No, but you started it, and that took courage. The crowd began to disperse. Reporters pressed against the barriers, shouting questions. Cameras flashed. Marcus ignored them all. Robert guided him through a back exit to a waiting car. I'll handle the media. You go home to your daughter. Thank you for everything. That's what you pay me for. Robert smiled, then grew serious. Marcus, I know this feels like an ending, but it's really a beginning. The hard work starts now, helping Jasmine heal, rebuilding your life. Don't underestimate how difficult that's going to be. I know, but at least now we have a chance. The drive home took 45 minutes. Marcus spent most of it staring out the window, replaying Victoria's words in his mind. I'll see you in hell. She meant it. He had no doubt about that. Even from prison, she would find ways to cause trouble, to spread lies, to poison anyone who would listen. But she couldn't hurt Jasmine anymore. That was what mattered. When he pulled into the driveway, Jasmine was waiting at the window. The moment she saw his car, she ran to the front door and threw it open. Daddy, what happened? Is she going to jail? Marcus knelt down and pulled her into his arms. Yes, baby, she's going to jail for a very long time. How long? 15 years. Jasmine's eyes went wide. 15 years. That's almost twice as long as I've been alive. I know. By the time she gets out, you'll be a grown woman. You'll be in college, maybe even starting your own career. She can't hurt me anymore. Never again, I promise. Jasmine buried her face in his chest. He felt her body shake with sobs. But these weren't tears of fear or sadness. These were tears of relief. Dorothy appeared in the doorway, wiping her eyes with her apron. Thank the Lord. Thank the Lord. They went inside together. Dorothy had prepared a special lunch, all of Jasmine's favorites, mac and cheese, fried chicken, cornbread, apple pie for dessert. This feels like Thanksgiving, Jasmine said, looking at the spread. It is Thanksgiving, Dorothy replied. We're giving thanks that this nightmare is over, that our family is safe, that justice was served. Marcus looked around the table at the two people who mattered most to him. His daughter, the woman who had helped raise her, his family. It wasn't the family he had imagined when Angela was alive. It wasn't perfect, but it was his, and he would protect it with everything he had. That afternoon, Marcus made a decision that had been forming in his mind for weeks. He called his real estate agent. "I want to sell the Savannah house, and I want to buy something different, something smaller, something that feels like a home, not a fortress." "What are you looking for?" "Somewhere quiet, with a yard for Jasmine to play in, near good schools, and near the water if possible. Angela always loved the water." The agent found them a house on Lake Lanier within a week. It was a fraction of the size of the Atlanta estate. 3 bedrooms, a wraparound porch, a dock that extended out over the lake. The first time Jasmine saw it, she gasped. "Daddy, it's beautiful. Do you like it? I love it. Can we really live here? If you want to." "Yes, yes, yes, yes." She ran down to the dock and stood at the edge looking out at the water. Marcus followed, standing beside her. "Mommy would have loved this," Jasmine said quietly. She would have. She always said she wanted a house by the lake, somewhere peaceful, somewhere we could be a family without all the distractions. "Why didn't you buy one when she was alive?" The question hit Marcus like a punch to the gut. "Because I was too busy," he thought. "Because I was too focused on building my empire. Because I thought there would always be more time." "I made a lot of mistakes, Jasmine. I put work before family. I thought I was doing the right thing, providing for you and your mother. But I was wrong. I should have been here. I should have been present. But you're here now." "Yes, I am, and I'm never going away again." They moved into the lake house in December, just before Christmas. Dorothy came with them, of course. She had become family in every way that mattered. The first few weeks were an adjustment. The house was quiet after the chaos of the trial. No reporters, no lawyers, no court dates. Just the 3 of them, learning how to live together without fear. Jasmine started seeing a therapist twice a week. Dr. Evelyn Carter was a specialist in childhood trauma recommended by Dr. Coleman. She was patient and kind, never pushing Jasmine to talk about things she wasn't ready to discuss. Progress was slow. Some days were better than others. Jasmine would have nightmares and wake up screaming for her father. She would refuse to eat her appetite still damaged from months of being forced to consume spoiled food. She would flinch when anyone raised their voice, even in excitement. But gradually, slowly, she began to heal. Marcus threw himself into being present. He cooked breakfast every morning, even though his eggs were still slightly burnt and his pancakes were lopsided. He helped with homework. He read bedtime stories. He sat with Jasmine during her therapy sessions when she asked him to. He also started his own therapy. Robert had recommended someone, a grief counselor who specialized in helping adults process trauma. "You've been through a lot," the therapist told him during their first session. "Not just the past year, but the past 3 years. Losing your wife, withdrawing from your daughter, marrying someone who turned out to be a predator. These aren't things you can just move on from." "I don't know how to feel," Marcus admitted. "Sometimes I'm angry, sometimes I'm sad, sometimes I feel nothing at all." "That's normal. Healing isn't linear. You'll have good days and bad days. The important thing is to keep showing up, for yourself and for Jasmine." Christmas Eve arrived with a light dusting of snow. Jasmine woke up early, excited about the holiday for the first time in years. "Daddy, can we make cookies? Mommy used to make cookies on Christmas Eve." Marcus looked at Dorothy, who nodded encouragingly. "Of course, baby. What kind of cookies did Mommy make?" "Sugar cookies, with frosting and sprinkles." They spent the entire morning in the kitchen. Marcus made a mess of the dough. Jasmine got flour in her hair. Dorothy supervised from the table, offering gentle corrections and trying not to laugh at their disasters. By noon, they had 24 misshapen but edible cookies. "These look terrible," Jasmine said, surveying their work. "But they taste good," Marcus replied, taking a bite. "That's what matters." "Mommy's were prettier." "I'm sure they were, but I bet she didn't make them perfect the first time either. It takes practice." Jasmine considered this. Then she said, "Maybe next year they'll be better." Well, next year. She was thinking about next year. She was imagining a future. It was the best Christmas present Marcus could have asked for. That evening, they decorated the tree together. Dorothy had found Angela's old ornament collection in storage. Each one came with a memory. "This one is from our first Christmas together," Marcus said, holding up a delicate glass ball. "Your mother bought it at a market in New Orleans. We were so young. We didn't have any money, but she saw this and said it was perfect." "Tell me more stories about Mommy." So he did. For hours they sat by the tree, sharing memories. The trip to Paris for their 5th anniversary. The night Jasmine was born. The way Angela laughed. The sound of her voice when she sang lullabies. Jasmine cried. Marcus cried. Even Dorothy wiped her eyes, but they were healing tears. Tears that needed to be shed. I'm glad we're talking about her, Jasmine said finally. Victoria never let me talk about her. She said it was unhealthy, that I needed to move on. Victoria was wrong about a lot of things. Your mother deserves to be remembered. She deserves to be talked about. She was the best person I've ever known, and she would be so proud of you, Jasmine. So incredibly proud. You think so. I know so. January brought new challenges. Jasmine needed to go back to school, but the thought of returning to Riverside Academy was unbearable. Even with Victoria gone, the memories were too fresh. The cafeteria where she had been humiliated. The classrooms where she had been isolated. The hallways where she had walked in fear. Marcus found a small private school near the lake house. It had only 60 students. The teachers knew every child by name. The principal, a woman named Der Thompson, had a background in trauma-informed education. We'll take care of her, Der Thompson assured Marcus during their meeting. Jasmine isn't the first student we've had who's been through something difficult, and she won't be the last. Jasmine's first day was hard. She clung to Marcus's hand at the front door, her eyes wide with fear. What if they don't like me? They'll love you. Just be yourself. What if the teachers are mean like Victoria? They're not. I've met all of them. They're good people who want to help you. Will you pick me up after? I'll be right here at exactly 3:15. I promise. She took a deep breath, squared her shoulders, and walked inside. Marcus watched her go, his heart aching. Then he got in his car and drove to the nearest coffee shop where he sat staring at his phone for the next 6 hours, waiting for something to go wrong. At 3:10, he was back at the school. At 3:15 exactly, Jasmine emerged through the front doors. She was smiling. Daddy, I made a friend. Her name is Sophie, and she has a dog named Biscuit, and she invited me to come play at her house this weekend. Marcus felt something loosen in his chest. That's wonderful, baby. Tell me everything. She talked nonstop the entire drive home. About Sophie, about her teacher, Mrs. Anderson, who was nice and never yelled, about the art room, which had every color of paint you could imagine, about the cafeteria where kids could choose what they wanted to eat and nobody forced them to finish anything. It was more words than she had spoken in months. That night, Marcus called Sandra Mitchell. She made a friend. She's excited about school. She's actually excited. That's amazing, Marcus. I'm so happy for you both. I couldn't have done this without you, without everyone who came forward. Your courage gave us strength. We gave each other strength. That's how it works. How is Maya doing? Better. She's finally talking about what happened. The trial gave her closure, I think, knowing that Victoria is paying for what she did. I'm glad. Marcus, I've been thinking about all the families Victoria hurt, about all the children who are still out there suffering in silence because they think no one will believe them. What are you thinking? What if we did something? Something to help them, a foundation maybe, or a support group, somewhere kids like Maya and Jasmine could go to find help. The idea took root in Marcus's mind. It grew over the following weeks, expanding and evolving as he thought about it more. By February, he had a plan. He called a meeting with his former executives at Washington Capitol. Sandra Williams, the new CEO, was there. So was Robert, and several board members who had become friends over the years. I want to start a foundation, Marcus announced, focused on helping children who have experienced abuse and trauma. We'll provide free therapy, train teachers to recognize the signs, advocate for stronger child protection laws, create safe spaces where kids can heal. What do you need from us? Sandra asked. Funding, support, connections. I'll put in the initial capital myself, but to make this work long-term, we need partners, corporate sponsors, government grants, community involvement. The room was quiet for a moment. Then Robert spoke. What are you going to call it? Marcus smiled. Jasmine's Light Foundation. The name had come to him in a dream. Angela was there, holding Jasmine as a baby. She looked at him and said, "Let her light shine for others." When he told Jasmine about the foundation, her eyes went wide. You're naming it after me. Of course, you inspired it. Your courage, your strength, your willingness to speak up even when you were scared. But I didn't do anything special. I just told the truth. Telling the truth was the bravest thing you could have done. And now because of your truth, other children will get help. Other families will find support. Your light will shine for them. Jasmine was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Can I help with the foundation?" "What do you mean?" I want to talk to other kids, kids like me. I want to tell them that it gets better, that they're not alone, that someone believes them. Marcus felt tears forming in his eyes. Are you sure that's a big responsibility? I'm sure. Victoria wanted me to be scared forever. She wanted me to hide and be quiet and never tell anyone what happened. But I'm not scared anymore. And I don't want other kids to be scared either. He pulled her into a hug. You are the most amazing person I've ever known. I learned from you, Daddy, and from Mommy, and from Mrs. Jenkins. Dorothy, Marcus corrected her automatically. She told you to call her Dorothy. Jasmine smiled. I know, but she's always been Mrs. Jenkins to me. She's family. The foundation launched in March. The press conference was held at the lake house. Reporters from across the country came to cover the story. The millionaire who had discovered his wife was abusing his daughter. The child who had testified against her abuser. The foundation that would help other families avoid the same fate. Marcus stood at the podium, Jasmine by his side. 18 months ago, I thought I had everything. A successful business, a beautiful home, a new wife who I believed loved my daughter as much as I did. I was wrong about almost everything. He paused, looking down at Jasmine. The only thing I was right about was this little girl, her strength, her courage, her capacity to forgive and to heal. She is the light that guided me out of darkness, and today we're launching Jasmine's Light Foundation so that her light can guide others. Jasmine stepped up to the microphone. She had to stand on a small stool to reach it. When I was scared, I thought nobody would believe me. I thought I was alone. I thought the bad things happening to me were my fault. Her voice wavered but held steady. I was wrong. It wasn't my fault. And I wasn't alone. There were people who cared about me. My daddy, Mrs. Jenkins, the doctors and police officers who helped us. And now I want to help other kids know that they're not alone either. The applause was thunderous. After the press conference, families lined up to speak with Marcus and Jasmine. Parents who had been through similar experiences. Children who had suffered in silence. People who had seen the news coverage and driven hours to be there. One woman approached Marcus with tears streaming down her face. My son was abused by his coach for 2 years. We didn't find out until it was almost too late. Seeing you and your daughter up there speaking out, fighting back, it gives us hope. That's why we're doing this, Marcus said, so no family has to go through what we went through. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. That evening, after the crowds had dispersed and the reporters had gone home, Marcus sat on the dock with Jasmine. The sun was setting over the lake, painting the water in shades of gold and pink. Daddy. Yes, baby. Do you think Mommy is watching us? I know she is. Do you think she's proud? Marcus looked at his daughter, the light in her eyes, the strength in her smile, the courage that radiated from her small frame. I think she's the proudest mother in heaven. Jasmine leaned against him and they watched the sun disappear together. The weeks that followed were busy. The foundation received donations from across the country. Families reached out for help. Schools requested training programs. Politicians expressed support for new child protection legislation. Marcus hired a small team to run the day-to-day operations. Sandra Mitchell agreed to serve on the board. Patricia Holmes volunteered to lead parent support groups. Dr. Carter developed a therapy curriculum for child survivors. But the heart of the foundation remained Marcus and Jasmine. Every weekend they hosted events at the lake house. Art therapy sessions for children, support groups for parents, picnics and games, and opportunities for families to connect with others who understood their pain. Jasmine thrived in this environment. She had a gift for making other children feel safe. She would sit with the shy ones drawing pictures together without any pressure to talk. She would play games with the angry ones, burning off their rage through activity. She would hold hands with the scared ones, letting them know they weren't alone. She's remarkable, Dr. Carter told Marcus one afternoon. I've never seen a child with such natural empathy, especially one who's been through what she's been through. She gets it from her mother. Maybe, but she also gets it from watching you, from seeing you transform from an absent father into someone who puts her first. Children learn by example, Marcus. You're teaching her how to love. April brought spring to the lake. The trees bloomed. The flowers opened. Life returned after the long winter. Marcus was in his study, reviewing foundation paperwork when Jasmine burst through the door. Daddy, Daddy, come quick. What is it? What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Come look. She grabbed his hand and pulled him outside down the path to the dock. She pointed at the water. Look. A family of ducks was swimming near the shore. A mother and 7 tiny ducklings paddling in a perfect line. Aren't they beautiful? Jasmine breathed. They are. The mama is taking care of all her babies, making sure they stay together, making sure nothing bad happens to them. Marcus knelt beside his daughter. That's what mamas and daddies do. They protect their children, no matter what. Like you protected me. I didn't protect you soon enough. I should have seen what was happening. I should have listened when people tried to tell me. But you did listen, eventually, and you saved me. Jasmine turned to look at him. Mrs. Jenkins said that what matters isn't whether you make mistakes. What matters is what you do after. Mrs. Jenkins is a wise woman. I know, that's why I love her. They watched the ducks until they disappeared around a bend in the shoreline. Then Jasmine said, Daddy, can I ask you something? Anything. Do you think you'll ever get married again? The question surprised him. I don't know. I haven't thought about it. I think you should. You do. Not right now, and not to someone like Victoria, but someday. I want you to be happy, and I think being alone makes you sad sometimes. Marcus felt tears prick at his eyes. When did you get so wise, little one? I told you, I learned from Mrs. Jenkins. He laughed and pulled her into a hug. I love you, Jasmine, more than anything in this world. I love you too, Daddy, more than anything. That night, Marcus sat alone on the porch looking up at the stars. Angela's favorite constellation, Orion, was clearly visible. I miss you, he said softly to no one and everyone, every single day, but I want you to know that I'm trying. I'm trying to be the father Jasmine deserves. The man you always believed I could be. A breeze stirred the wind chimes Dorothy had hung near the door. The sound was soft and gentle, almost like laughter. I'll never stop loving you, but Jasmine is right. I can't be alone forever. And I think you would want me to find happiness again. You always wanted everyone to be happy. The breeze died down. The stars continued their silent vigil. Marcus smiled, feeling a peace he hadn't known in years. He didn't know what the future held. He didn't know if he would find love again. He didn't know what challenges lay ahead. But he knew one thing for certain. He wasn't alone. He had Jasmine. He had Dorothy. He had the foundation and all the families it would help. And somewhere up there watching over them all, he had Angela. That was enough. That was more than enough. He went inside, checked on Jasmine one last time, and fell asleep with a smile on his face. The ducks returned the next morning. 20 years passed like water flowing through open hands. Marcus Washington stood at the window of the Foundation's new headquarters watching the morning traffic crawl through downtown Atlanta. His hair had turned completely silver now. His face carried the lines of a man who had lived fully loved deeply and lost much along the way. But his eyes were clear, peaceful, content. His phone buzzed, a text from Dorothy Jenkins. She's nervous. You should call her. Marcus smiled. Dorothy was 83 now, still sharp as a tack, still living in the cottage they had built for her on the lake house property. She had refused to retire, insisting that someone needed to keep an eye on things while Marcus traveled for Foundation business. He dialed Jasmine's number. She answered on the second ring. Daddy, I can't do this. Yes, you can. There are going to be thousands of people there. Journalists, politicians, the Secretary of Education. What if I mess up? What if I forget what I'm supposed to say? You won't. How do you know? Because you've been preparing for this moment your entire life. Every therapy session you've led, every child you've helped, every speech you've given at schools and conferences and community centers. This is just one more step on the same path. Jasmine was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I wish Mommy could be here. She is here. She's always been here. And she's so proud of you, Jasmine, just like I am. I'm scared. Good. Fear means you care. Fear means this matters to you. Use it. Let it sharpen you. Another pause. Daddy? Yes. Thank you for everything, for believing me when no one else did, for fighting for me, for teaching me how to fight for others. Marcus felt tears welling in his eyes. Thank you for giving me a reason to fight. I love you. I love you too, baby. Now go change the world. He hung up and looked at the photograph on his desk. Jasmine at 8 years old, thin and frightened, clutching his hand as they walked out of the hospital. Next to it was a more recent photo. Jasmine at 28, standing at a podium addressing the National Conference on Child Welfare. Dr. Jasmine Washington, licensed psychologist, best-selling author, advocate for abused children, founder and director of Jasmine's Light Foundation. His daughter had become everything Victoria said she would never be. The irony was not lost on him. The National Child Protection Summit was held at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. 3,000 people filled the auditorium. Senators, governors, educators, social workers, journalists from every major network. And in the front row, Marcus Washington sat beside Dorothy Jenkins. Both of them watching the stage with trembling anticipation. The Secretary of Education introduced Jasmine with words that made Marcus's heart swell. Dr. Jasmine Washington is not just a psychologist or an advocate. She is a survivor, a warrior, a light in the darkness for thousands of children who thought they were alone. Her foundation has helped over 50,000 families across the country. Her training programs have been adopted by school districts in 43 states. Her books have been translated into 27 languages. But more than her achievements, it is her courage that inspires us. The courage to speak the truth. The courage to fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. The courage to transform her pain into purpose. Jasmine walked to the podium. She wore a simple white dress, elegant and understated. Her hair was natural, a crown of curls that framed her face. Angela's eyes looked out at the crowd. 20 years ago, huh? She began, her voice steady and clear. I was an 8-year-old girl who was afraid to eat, afraid to sleep, afraid to speak. I had been systematically abused by the woman my father married, a woman who smiled at him while she tortured me in secret. The auditorium was silent. I thought it was my fault. I thought I was broken. I thought no one would believe me if I told the truth, and for a while no one did. My father was too busy. The teachers were too scared. The system was too slow. She paused, her eyes finding Marcus in the crowd. But then my father walked into my school cafeteria on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. He saw what was happening, and he chose to believe me. He chose to fight for me. He chose to tear down his entire life and rebuild it around keeping me safe. Tears were streaming down faces throughout the auditorium. That moment changed everything, not just for me, but for the thousands of children who would eventually find help through Jasmine's Light Foundation. Because my father's courage gave me courage, and my courage has given courage to others. That's how change happens. One person at a time. One choice at a time. One act of believing at a time. She took a breath. I'm here today to announce something that my father doesn't know about yet. Marcus sat up straighter, confused. For the past 2 years, I've been working with legislators on both sides of the aisle to draft comprehensive child protection legislation. Today, I am proud to announce that the Jasmine's Light Act has passed both the House and the Senate. It will be signed into law by the President next week. The auditorium erupted. People leaped to their feet, applauding and cheering. Marcus stared at his daughter, stunned. She had kept this secret from him, from everyone, for 2 years. The Jasmine's Light Act will establish mandatory training for all educators on recognizing signs of abuse. It will create a national database of offenders to prevent people like my abuser from simply moving to a new state and starting over. It will fund therapy programs for child survivors in every state, and it will establish a children's advocate office in every school district in America. She looked directly at her father. This is for you, Daddy, for everything you sacrificed, for every night you sat beside my bed while I had nightmares, for every tear you shed when you thought I wasn't looking, for choosing me over your company, your reputation, your comfort. This law is your legacy as much as it is mine. Marcus couldn't speak. He couldn't move. He sat frozen while the crowd applauded, and Dorothy squeezed his hand. And this is for every child out there who is suffering in silence right now, who thinks no one will believe them, who thinks they are alone. You are not alone. You are seen. You are believed. And from this day forward, the law is on your side. The standing ovation lasted nearly 5 minutes. After the speech, Marcus found Jasmine backstage. She was surrounded by politicians and journalists, but when she saw him, she pushed through the crowd and threw her arms around him. Surprise, she whispered. How did you keep this from me for 2 years? It wasn't easy, but I wanted to show you. I wanted you to see what your love created, what your sacrifice built. I didn't do this, you did. We did it together, Daddy. We always have. A journalist approached with a cameraman. Dr. Washington, Mr. Washington, can we get a few words for the evening news? Jasmine looked at her father. What do you say, Daddy, ready for your close-up? Marcus laughed. I've been waiting 20 years for this moment. Let's go. They stood side by side as the camera rolled. Dr. Washington, what message do you have for children who are currently experiencing abuse? Jasmine spoke directly into the lens. Tell someone, anyone, a teacher, a neighbor, a friend's parent, a police officer. Keep telling until someone believes you. Your voice matters. Your truth matters. You matter. Mr. Washington, what advice do you have for parents who suspect something is wrong? Marcus took a breath. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, investigate. Ask questions. Pay attention. Don't let busy schedules or comfortable assumptions blind you to what's happening in your own home. I almost lost my daughter because I was too focused on work to see the truth. Don't make my mistake. One final question. What do you hope the Jasmine's Light Act will accomplish? Jasmine answered. I hope it will create a world where no child has to suffer in silence, where every adult is equipped to recognize the signs of abuse, where survivors get the help they need to heal, and where abusers can no longer hide behind charm and connections. That's the world my father taught me to fight for, and we're not going to stop until we build it. The interview ended. The journalist thanked them and moved on to other guests. Marcus and Jasmine stood together in the quiet corner backstage. Your mother would be so proud of you, Marcus said. I know, I feel her with me every day. She's the reason I became who I am. Meeting her, loving her, losing her, it all shaped me into the person who could raise you. And Victoria, the name still sent a chill through him even after all these years. What about her? She's getting out next year. Did you know that? Marcus nodded slowly. Robert told me. Time off for good behavior. She'll have served 12 of her 15 years. Are you scared? No, she can't hurt us anymore. She can't hurt anyone. The registry follows her everywhere. She can never work with children again. She can never hide what she did. I'm going to visit her. Marcus felt his heart stop. What? Before she gets out, I'm going to go to the prison and talk to her. Why? Jasmine was quiet for a moment. Then she said, because I need to forgive her. You don't owe her forgiveness. I know I don't, but I'm not doing it for her. I'm doing it for me. I've carried anger and fear for 20 years, Daddy. It's time to let it go. It's time to be free. Marcus looked at his daughter, the strength in her eyes, the peace in her face. She had grown into something magnificent, something far beyond anything he could have imagined. Do you want me to come with you? No, this is something I need to do alone. Are you sure? I'm sure. But Daddy? Yes. Will you be there when I get back? Just in case I need you. Always, baby, always. The prison visit happened 2 weeks later. Jasmine drove to the women's correctional facility in rural Georgia. She passed through security. She was led to a small visiting room with a table and 2 chairs. Victoria Palmer was brought in by a guard. She looked old. The years had not been kind. Her hair was gray and brittle. Her face was gaunt. Her hands trembled as she sat down across from Jasmine. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Victoria said, You came. I did. Why? Because I wanted to see you, the real you, not the monster in my nightmares, not the shadow that's haunted me for 20 years. Just you. Victoria's eyes narrowed. Is this some kind of victory lap? Did you come to gloat? No, I came to tell you something. What? Jasmine leaned forward. I forgive you. Victoria blinked. Whatever she had expected, it wasn't this. I forgive you for what you did to me. For the food, for the closet, for the bruises and the threats and the fear. I forgive you for trying to destroy my relationship with my father. I forgive you for making me believe I was worthless. I don't need your forgiveness. I know, but I need to give it, because carrying hatred is exhausting, because letting you live rent-free in my mind is a waste of my energy, because the best revenge isn't destruction, it's living a full, beautiful, meaningful life in spite of everything you tried to do to me. Victoria's mask cracked. Just for a moment. Something flickered in her eyes. Pain, maybe, or regret, or just surprise at being confronted by the child she had once controlled. You've done well for yourself, Victoria said quietly. I've seen the news. Even in here, I've seen what you've accomplished. No thanks to you. Maybe because of me. Did you ever think of that? Maybe the adversity made you stronger. Maybe the suffering gave you purpose. Jasmine shook her head. That's what abusers tell themselves, that their cruelty was somehow beneficial, that their victims should be grateful for the damage. It's a lie, Victoria. What I accomplished in spite of you, not because of you. Believe what you want. I will, and I'll believe something else too. What? That you're a person, a broken, damaged, probably mentally ill person who did terrible things. That doesn't excuse what you did, but it means you're human, and humans can change. Even you. Victoria laughed bitterly. You sound like a therapist. I am a therapist, and I've worked with people who've done terrible things. Some of them find redemption, some of them don't. The choice is always theirs. She stood up. I'm leaving now. I probably won't ever see you again. But I want you to know something. You don't define me. You never did. And when I walk out of here, I'm leaving the last pieces of your control behind. You have no more power over me, Victoria. None. She walked to the door and knocked for the guard. Jasmine? She turned back. Victoria's eyes were wet. I'm sorry. 2 words, after 20 years. Jasmine nodded slowly. I believe you, and I hope you find peace. Goodbye, Victoria. The guard opened the door. Jasmine walked through. She didn't look back. In the parking lot, she sat in her car for 10 minutes, breathing deeply, processing, letting the weight of 2 decades slide off her shoulders. Then she called her father. It's done. How do you feel, Sue? Free? I feel free. Marcus met her at the lake house that evening. Dorothy had prepared a special dinner. All of Jasmine's favorites, mac and cheese, fried chicken, cornbread, apple pie. This feels like a celebration, Jasmine said, looking at the spread. It is a celebration, Dorothy replied. We're celebrating you, your courage, your strength, your heart. I'm not special. Yes, you are. Marcus took her hand. You're the most special person I've ever known. They ate together, the 3 of them, talking and laughing and sharing memories. The good ones and the bad ones. The funny ones and the sad ones. All of it. After dinner, Jasmine and Marcus walked down to the dock. The sun was setting over the lake just like it had 1,000 times before. Daddy? Yes? Do you ever regret it? Marrying Victoria, everything that happened. Marcus thought about the question. He had asked himself the same thing many times over the years. I regret the pain it caused you. I regret not seeing the truth sooner. I regret the months you suffered while I was blind. But regret the experience itself, no. Because it led us here. To this moment. To the foundation. To the law that bears your name. To you becoming the person you are. That's very philosophical of you. I've had 20 years to think about it. Jasmine laughed. Then she grew serious. Daddy, there's something I need to tell you. What is it? I've met someone. His name is Michael. He's a pediatrician at Children's Hospital. We've been dating for about a year. Marcus felt his heart leap. A year, and you're just telling me now? I wanted to be sure. I wanted to know he was real, that what we have is real. And is it? Jasmine smiled. He proposed last week. I said yes. Marcus stared at his daughter, the little girl who had been afraid to eat, the teenager who had nightmares every night, the young woman who had dedicated her life to helping others heal. She was getting married. I don't know what to say. Say you're happy for me. I'm happy for you. I'm so incredibly happy for you. He pulled her into a hug. Does he know about everything? He knows everything. The abuse, the trial, Victoria, all of it. And he loves me anyway, not in spite of it, not because of it. He just loves me for who I am. When do I get to meet him? He's coming for dinner next week. I wanted to give you time to prepare. Shh. Prepare for what? For interrogating him. I know you, Daddy. You're going to grill him like a steak. Marcus laughed. Maybe a little, but only because I love you. I know, and that's okay. He can handle it. They stood together watching the last light fade from the sky. The same dock where they had sat so many times over the years. The same lake where Jasmine had learned to swim. The same view Angela had loved. She would have wanted to be here, Jasmine said quietly. For the wedding, for all of it. She is here. In you. In everything you've become. Angela lives on through you, Jasmine. Her kindness, her strength, her ability to see the best in people even when they didn't deserve it. I hope I can be half the mother she was. You'll be an amazing mother when you're ready. Soon. Michael and I want children. Maybe 2 or 3. Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. Grandchildren. He was going to have grandchildren. I never thought I'd live to see this day. What day? The day you were completely happy, completely healed, completely free. I'm not completely healed, Daddy. I don't think anyone ever is, but I'm healing, every day, and that's enough. The wedding took place the following spring at the lake house. It was small and intimate. 50 guests, family and close friends, the people who had been there through everything. Sandra Mitchell flew in from Birmingham with her daughter Maya, now a social worker herself. Patricia Holmes came with her son Derek, who had become an advocate for male abuse survivors. Dr. Coleman, retired now, but still sharp, sat in the front row with Dorothy. Robert Chen served as Marcus's best man even though it was Jasmine's wedding. "You're the one who made this family possible," Jasmine had told him. "You deserve to stand up there." And Keisha Johnson, the cafeteria worker who had tried to protect Jasmine all those years ago, sat in a place of honor. She had gone back to school, earned her degree, and now ran the Foundation's Atlanta chapter. Michael waited at the altar, nervous and beaming. He was a good man, kind, patient, strong, everything Jasmine deserved. Marcus walked his daughter down the aisle. "Are you ready?" he whispered. "I've been ready my whole life." He kissed her forehead and placed her hand in Michael's. "Take care of her." "I will, sir, I promise." "And Michael?" "Yes." "Call me Marcus, you're family now." The ceremony was beautiful. The vows were personal and profound. When the minister pronounced them husband and wife, the crowd erupted in cheers. At the reception, Marcus stood to give a toast. 28 years ago, I held a tiny baby in my arms and made a promise. I promised to protect her, to love her, to give her everything she needed to thrive. I failed at that promise for a while. I got lost in my own grief and ambition. I let darkness enter our lives, and my daughter paid the price. The room was silent. But she taught me something. She taught me that it's never too late to start over, that forgiveness is possible even when it seems impossible, that the darkest chapters of our lives can become the foundation for our greatest purpose. Jasmine, you saved me, not the other way around. You gave me a reason to be better, to do better, to become the father you deserved. He raised his glass. To Jasmine and Michael, may your life together be filled with joy, peace, and endless second chances. I love you both. The room raised their glasses. To Jasmine and Michael. Later that evening, Jasmine found her father sitting alone on the dock, hiding from the party. "Just taking a moment. A lot has happened." "Are you okay?" "I'm more than okay. I'm grateful for everything, even the hard parts." Jasmine sat down beside him. "Daddy, there's one more thing I need to tell you." "Please don't tell me you're pregnant already." She laughed. "No, not yet, but we're thinking about it." "Then what?" "The National Children's Advocacy Center called yesterday. They want to give you an award, the Lifetime Achievement Award for Child Protection. They want to honor you at their gala next month." Marcus shook his head. "I don't deserve an award. I'm the one who let this happen to you in the first place. You're also the one who stopped it, the one who believed me, the one who built a foundation that has helped 50,000 families. You deserve this, Daddy. Please accept it." He looked at his daughter, the light in her eyes, the peace in her face, the woman she had become. "Okay, I'll accept it, but only if you present it to me. Deal." They sat together in comfortable silence, listening to the sounds of the party drifting from the house. Music, laughter, joy. Jasmine, yes. "Thank you." "For what?" "For being born, for surviving, for forgiving me, for becoming everything your mother knew you could be. Thank you for never giving up on me, even when I gave up on myself." Marcus put his arm around his daughter and held her close. The party continued until midnight. Guests danced and ate and celebrated. Stories were shared. Memories were honored. The past was acknowledged, but it didn't define the present, and when the last guest had gone and the last light had been turned off, Marcus Washington stood alone in the living room of the lake house. Photographs covered the walls. Angela on their wedding day. Jasmine as a baby. Dorothy in the kitchen. The Foundation's first event. Jasmine accepting her doctorate. Today's wedding. 20 years of healing. 20 years of growth. His 20 years of second chances. He walked to the mantel and picked up a small frame. Inside was a crumpled piece of paper preserved behind glass. The note Jasmine had written as a child, found hidden in her desk drawer. "My tummy hurts often, but the teacher said not to tell. Daddy is busy. I will be good." He had kept it all these years. A reminder of how close he had come to losing everything. A reminder of why he could never stop fighting. Dorothy appeared in the doorway. "You should get some sleep. It's been a long day." "I will. I just needed a moment." "She's going to be okay, you know, more than okay." "I know. I've known for a long time." "Then what are you thinking about?" Marcus set down the frame and turned to face the woman who had been his rock through everything. "I'm thinking about how lucky I am to have had Angela, to have Jasmine, to have you. I don't deserve any of it. None of us deserve the good things we get. That's what makes them gifts." He smiled. "When did you get so wise, Dorothy Jenkins?" "I've always been wise. You just weren't paying attention." He laughed and walked toward the stairs. At the bottom, he paused and looked back at her. Thank you for everything, for staying when you could have left, for fighting when I wouldn't listen, for loving Jasmine like your own. She is my own, in every way that matters. I know. Good night, Dorothy. Good night, Marcus. He climbed the stairs to his bedroom. Through the window, he could see the lake shimmering under the moonlight. The same view Angela had loved. The same peace she had always dreamed of. He closed his eyes and saw her face, smiling, radiant, proud. We did it, he whispered to it. She's happy, she's whole, she's free. The wind chimes sang their gentle song. Marcus Washington fell asleep with a smile on his face, dreaming of the granddaughter who would be born the following year. A little girl with Angela's eyes and Jasmine's courage. They would name her Hope, and Hope was exactly what she would bring. 1 year later, Marcus stood in the hospital room holding his granddaughter for the first time. She was tiny and perfect, with 10 fingers and 10 toes, and a cry that could wake the dead. She's beautiful, he whispered. Jasmine smiled from the bed, exhausted but radiant. She looks like Mommy. She does. She really does. Do you want to tell her the story, the one about the millionaire who walked into his daughter's school cafeteria and saw what the teacher did? Marcus looked at the baby in his arms, so small, so innocent, so full of possibility. Someday, when she's old enough, I'll tell her everything, about her grandmother who loved with her whole heart, about her mother who survived the unsurvivable, about the foundation that bears her mother's name, about the law that protects children like she once needed protecting. And about you, the father who finally woke up. That too, but mostly I'll tell her about love, how it can be broken and rebuilt, how it can fail and try again, how it's the only thing that really matters in the end. Hope opened her eyes, dark brown just like Angela's, just like Jasmine's. Welcome to the world, little one, Marcus said. You come from a long line of survivors, and whatever challenges you face, whatever darkness tries to find you, remember this, you are loved, you are believed, you are not alone. The baby yawned and closed her eye. Michael took Marcus's hand. Thank you, Dad, for everything. Dad, the word hit Marcus like a wave. You're welcome, son. 3 generations stood together in that hospital room, past and present and future, pain and healing and hope. The story that had begun with fear and suffering had become something else entirely, a testament to resilience, a monument to second chances, a proof that darkness, no matter how deep, cannot extinguish the light. Marcus Washington had walked into his daughter's school cafeteria 21 years ago, expecting to surprise her with lunch. Instead, he had discovered a truth that shattered his world and rebuilt it stronger. He had learned that love is not a feeling, but a choice. That being present matters more than being successful. That the most important work any person can do is showing up for the people who need them. And he had learned that redemption is always possible, not because we deserve it, but because we are willing to fight for it. Jasmine reached out and took her father's hand. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, baby, forever and always. Forever and always. Hope stirred in her grandfather's arms, dreaming whatever dreams newborns dream. And in that moment, everything was exactly as it should be. The story was complete. But the love continued passing from generation to generation like a flame that would never go out. Because that is what love does. It survives. It endures. It lights the way home.